What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome into Dynasty Points, the last Dynasty Points on the Fantasy Points YouTube feed. This feed, of course, there's a new Dynasty channel. It's already gaining subscribers by the minute, so don't be late. Go head over there. Some changes in the content. We're going to get into that in just a second. I'm your host, Thomas Tipple. That's Jacob Sanderson, Lucas Gilbert, Ryan Heath here. As always, if you're new here, welcome in. Happy you found us. If you're coming back, welcome back. Your seat in the theater is ready for you. Hope you have your popcorn. Today is going to be an exciting program. We are talking about players that have gained or lost value in the only way that we know how, chaotically and completely all over the place. It's the only way we know how to do things. Changes in the content. This is the last live Dynasty Points podcast for a little while. We have to get the new YouTube channel going and bumping. We will be bringing back Dynasty Points Live. There is also going to be another Dynasty Points podcast introduced. It will be separate content. The YouTube Live will be additional content. It will be YouTube exclusive. It will just be better for audio listeners. They won't have to hear us try to do tier sheets and all the other chaoticness. It will just live in its own separate special hive, while the podcast listeners will be able to listen to their own thing. Additionally, we will be making our way to YouTube podcasts, YouTube music as well. I know there are people that are wanting that as well. That will also just allow us to do that for everybody. So a few changes, but don't worry. This Dynasty Points podcast is going to be there. It's getting a little facelift. It's getting a little update, a little something for 2026. We're very excited about it. So if you could go, that link is in the description. I'm sure you're already tired of hearing me talk about it, but that link is in the description. You can go and hit that. It's free to do, and it helps us a lot. We'll have more content to kind of announce as we go moving forward. Shout out to the chat. TD is here. Bourbon, Joe King, Herms, a lot of the usuals. Happy to see you guys all there. All that being said, every single season in Dynasty Fantasy Football, someone goes crazy in the playoffs. And not just the fantasy playoffs. I'm sure we can all remember the great Gabe Davis game that was surely to lock him in as a top 20 wide receiver moving forward, because he was attached to Josh Allen and nothing that he did previously mattered to people. And this value held for Gabe Davis for like a year and a half. This always happens. Today, we're talking about players that might be for real, that might not be. I'm excited to get through this and jump right in. So that's what we're going to do. So, guys, obviously we're going to do this the only way we know how, and that's to tier it out. So, Jacob, remind people how we kind of do our tiers, how we're going to break it down, because it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be all over the place.
Well, the first essential component of a Dynasty Points tier list is that Ryan will fuck up dragging and dropping the names, and we'll all bully him. And actually, that wastes usually so much time that we needed to separate the live and audio forms of the podcast. I was informed that was the sole reason.
Yes.
I've got a new strat this time.
Strategy unlocked.
I've organized them. Jalen Hurts is in the wrong place. I've organized the guys we're going to talk about by team. I vaguely have groups of players together. We'll see how this one goes.
New tech.
This is a bit of a different tier maker than what we're used to. We're usually, when we're doing these, we're usually doing a strict ordinal ranking of best to worst or most worried to least worried. This is a little bit different. It's a little bit more subjective. We're going through anyone who had something really notable happen to them or around them in the playoffs. And we're going to divide these into rightful risers, So players who played really well, probably, and we think they're getting a level up in Dynasty going into the offseason. Fake value increase. So we do think that their ADP is going to rise, but we don't think that it really should rise as much as it will. No change, self-explanatory. Fake value decrease. So same in the inverse. People are going to perceive them more negatively. We don't think that they should. And then feeble fallers, because I guess, I don't know, Ryan's addicted to alliteration. And so that would be actual players that we think something materially changed their outlook. And again, we're all viewing this, of course, in Dynasty. As always with the tiers, we have to find a way to build a consensus, even if we don't actually agree. We vote on it. If we tie 2-2, we'll even give you guys in the chat a vote on it. Let's get cracking.
Ryan, who are we starting with today?
Yeah, let's start with Fantasy Points favorite prospect, Jaylin Noel. Obviously, Christian Kirk had an amazing game last night. Noel ran 4 routes, I believe. Has been in. What's that?
You didn't see the Stephen A. Smith bit, did you?
I did not know.
Oh, he called Christian Kirk Charlie Kirk on ESPN this morning, and it was really.
Oh, funny. I did see this. Okay. Yeah. So Jaylin Noel has been. Yeah, he's been overtaken by a conservative media figure. So do we care about him now? Essentially, I guess notably, Kirk is an unrestricted free agent this offseason, but when you put up 140 receiving yards in the playoffs, that makes it at least a possibility that he's going to get re-signed, or I think going into the season that wasn't necessarily viewed as all that likely for a lot of the season. I think it's more likely Kirk gets re-signed. Noel never, while he had flashes, he was decent on a per out basis at some points in the season. Like he never really kind of got past Kirk for that role. So yeah, I think this is really, for me, this is kind of the hammer coming down. And I do have a lower opinion of Noel as a dynasty asset now, but I am curious to hear what everybody else thinks.
My thoughts are that we have like 36 names at least to get through and about an hour to do it. And
we have 13 names actually. Ignore everything past Ricky Pearsall. I just had to put like the quarterbacks in this to make it.
Oh, that's a relief. Okay.
Normal.
All
yeah,
right.
We're stopping at
Pearsall. I was looking into changes for my evening plans. Yeah, I think I would be no change because I don't think he had any value anyways. But to the extent that we agree that he had value, then sure, put him in rightful faller.
I like the prospects of him just for the role that he could have. So I don't think he's lost any value. I think it's a fake decrease because I'm exploring buying him on the chance that Kirk is gone next year and he gets to step into that role. And it's a role that CJ Stroud likes to throw to. They had Stephon Diggs in the slot quite a bit last year before he got hurt. Now they have Kirk in the slot. He hyper targeted Dalton Schultz. I like him as a player. Like you said, his per route stuff was really good. I don't think Tank Dell is ever going to be a viable asset.
No, I just meant like good players that he liked to target as a slot player at times.
Oh, right. Yes. Pre-leg snapping, 100%.
Yeah.
So I like the prospect of the role there, not necessarily the player, but he, like Jacob said, he is so cheap. His ADP right now in drafts is insanely low. We're talking a 15th, 14th, even 13th round player. I'm interested in buying that on the chance that Kirk is gone because it doesn't cost you anything. So I would say fake decrease because he'd have to do something and then do something terribly to decrease his value. I just think his value is kind of stayed the same. So I would say fake decrease, but I'm exploring buying just on the role that he could be playing next year.
See, I look at him as like a priority add-in for a deal. So if you're just thinking that you're missing a little bit of value, go in and put him in there. But he just hasn't looked like that great because at some point in time you have to earn being on the field, and he's needed lots of injuries to be relevant. He's getting beat out by an aging Christian Kirk, and yeah, his profile is definitely intriguing, but you got to have something at some point in time. And I don't know, maybe as we dive a little bit more into this rookie class, I think we'll see that on a couple of the players here. But as we dive a little bit more into this rookie class, if you get to the point to where you like his prospect profile more than these other wide receivers, then sure, go ahead. There should be some ambiguity in that wide receiver room. There are going to be chances for him to earn some of this back. He is just a second-year wide receiver. But you're not investing something in there expecting to get anything back. Like, you should feel very okay if you're putting him on your team, that he should be okay to die on your bench in 2 years.
That's what I mean. Again, he's so cheap. It's like, I'm not really stressed if he doesn't pan out. I'm just having a look right now.
I feel like we're all over the place here in terms of how we're looking at him.
I would say fake value decrease, because again, he hasn't, like, just by ADP, he hasn't lost any like significant value of late. Because again, he'd have to have a ton of value to lose a ton of value. But again, I'm fine like buying on the cheap. Even the chat is saying, I'd buy in the cheap. I would move him into fake value decrease. I would say feeble fallers for like potential retirees, but we'll get into that.
Okay. All right. We can leave him. I'm fine with leaving him here. I'm not really personally looking to buy. If I can re-roll like the late second or the early third or whatever, I'm totally fine doing that personally, just to get my stance out. But I'm okay with that if you feel strongly, Tom and Lucas.
Yeah. I mean, I only remember exactly where he was going in rookie drafts last year. I think maybe like 3-2, 3-3, something like that. Was he going in the second?
Yeah, he and Higgins were like mid-second round rookie picks.
See, I knew Higgins was early, and then I just, for some reason, I thought that he was following lower down. Like, you're not moving Kim for a second because nobody's going to pay a second for him, and I don't think that he's done enough to warrant you paying a second, because there's going to be a lot of wide receivers who, I mean, we'll get into that. We have a long offseason to talk about the incoming rookie class, but yeah.
He's wide receiver 68 in the 17th round. It's really hard for him to lose more value from this playoffs. Next
Fair. Maybe I picked a bad guy to start. That was just kind of in a totally random order. Let's talk about something a little bit more explosive here, with the Eagles getting completely embarrassed by a defense that is totally talentless. The Eagles looked completely rudderless in their passing offense, especially Patullo. It sounds like is probably gone. He's out, at least as OC. Yes. And we have some AJ Brown body language concerns that I know Jacob really wanted to discuss. So I'll throw it to you first, Jacob. Take us wherever you wanted to go here with the Eagles.
On the Eagles? Yeah. Let's do AJ Brown first. I think he is going to be the most discussed. And I think, especially Smith, your take on him somewhat revolves on your take on Brown. I'm going to go with, it's a weird one in that I'm going to say, I'm guessing fake value increase, but I think you could go in like any direction. And the reason I say that is that I think the good thing for his value, especially in the market, is that he seems increasingly likely to not be on the Eagles next year. I thought like in the very early season, it seemed like he was so out of sync with the offense that they just had to find a way to have a parting of the ways. Later season, he cooked. Like, he was actually quite good over the second half of the season. They don't get any sort of cap relief from getting rid of him next year. And so it felt like unless he was like such a locker room cancer or so ineffective that they just wanted to move off of him for nothing, cap-wise, they'd get some assets, I guess, that they'd probably just keep him around. And it's, not a very good situation for a wide receiver to be in. I would say I've grown increasingly concerned about his talent level over even in the second half where he's had some really good games. There's been other games mixed in where he's just not playing the ball well. The effort is super inconsistent. And some of the times where he does get go routes, he's just not really winning on them the way that he used to win on them. So my guess is he goes somewhere else. people are, as they often are with wide receivers of this age and talent pedigree, very willing to forgive some of the issues this year, chalk it up to the Eagles, to Patullo, to him being angry, reading inner excellence, etc. And he gets sort of a big value increase from where he was like in week 7, week 8. If that happens, I'll probably, unfortunately, be on the side of selling, which I didn't think I would really even be on early in the season, and breaks my heart because he's one of my favorite players to ever play on the field.
I see him being on the team. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for them. Pre-June release is a $72 million cap hit, 72.5. Post first release,
what about trade?
45. Hold on, I'll get there. 45 million post June 1st. Pre-June 1st trade is a $43 million cap hit. Post June 1st trade, there is still a $16 million dead cap hit. Only saves them $7 million on the cap, and a 2027 dead cap of $27 million. To me, it reads more of bring in an offensive coordinator that doesn't run a hitch route on a disgusting amount of concepts. And I feel like A.J. Brown and everyone else in that, a new offensive coordinator that makes the offense actually run does a lot for them. The Eagles hold all the power in this trade. They have no reason to trade A.J. Brown. This roster is still dialed in for a championship run. It's probably one of the most talented rosters in the league. Their biggest default is that their quarterback struggles throwing the forward pass. And you can leave a comment about how wrong we are on that. But Juwan Jennings had more completions of 15 yards or more than Hurts did in that game, which is
he was also a better recruit than Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. So fair enough.
Also true. So I think it's more likely he's on the team. And if that's the case, then I think it's more likely he's probably still pretty dang good because I imagine he'll be the focal point, even though it should be Smith. Hell, it should be Dallas Goedert if we're being truly honest. But, oh, Goddard's the most consistent pass catcher on that team, hands down. The Goddard undervaluing is wild. The dude's insane. But I don't think his value is going to change at all. I think he's on the Eagles. I think it's such a long shot that he's actually gone. I had the A.J. Brown trade rumors as one of the most over talked about things of the offseason. I think it's already started and begun on Twitter. You would think the Eagles hadn't won a game in 4 years with the way they were blowing up. They're already doing the OC thing. I don't think there's much value change for him.
Well, I'll posit to you that if you're right, then it's still fake value increase because I think that people will expect he's going to get traded. So if your view is people think he's going to get traded, but he's not going to get traded, then I still think it's fake value increase.
So let me ask you this then. Currently, he's the wide receiver 21 at the start of the 6th round, pick 64. He's right beside T. Higgins, just ahead of Luther Burden. There's Rome Odunze and Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of him. Does he pass T, Rome, and Brian Thomas Jr. just based off of an offensive coordinator change alone? I don't know.
I don't think there's
I don't think it's
world
off
in which
the OC change. I think it's off the hope he's traded, which you think isn't going to happen. So then he would come back down.
Yeah, I think we're at an impasse on that one. I think you're right in using the way dynasty managers think, and that he'll just get a boost because it's expected. I think you're right on that one. I'll side with you on that, but I truly don't think there's going to be any change.
I do think, first, I don't think he's going to be traded. I think we've kind of seen this playbook from the Eagles before, where the locus of control is really the front office. So they will install whatever coaching personnel that they need to in order for them, in their view, to make their roster that they've put together work. I would imagine A.J. Brown is a part of their roster that to them still makes sense as a piece that they want to work that's valuable to their team. I would tend to agree from a real life perspective, at least, especially with the investment they have in him, the realities of trading him, all of that. So, yeah, I ultimately think that Brown just gets his way. And I would point out, too, that the Eagles kind of do this. This is like the cycle of Philadelphia, where one year it's, oh my God, Sirianni's going to get fired. Like they just completely took out his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator from under him. They just installed it. He's going to get fired by week 6. Do you guys remember when Bill Belichick was looking at real estate in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Like this was a meme for an entire offseason. They get off to like whatever, a 5-game win streak in 2024, go win a Super Bowl. All is forgiven. The vibes are so much better. To me, that says maybe Sirianni is not that great of a coach if he can only like keep a lid on on the team and the egos when things are going perfectly and when they're winning. And perhaps the front office realizes that. But either way, I trust this organization to like put out the fires, whatever way that needs to be done in the offseason. I don't think it includes trading Brown. So I would say even if he doesn't get traded, I think people are going into next season at least decently optimistic on him. I don't think this is a scenario where you're holding him until August and you get burned. Maybe outside of him getting traded to like a very bad spot, which again, I think is unlikely. So yeah, I guess maybe what I'm describing is the fake value increase for the entire offseason, because I think we're only going to find reasons to be, or generally for dynasty managers, fantasy managers to be optimistic and talk themselves back into Brown this offseason. Whereas I think as soon as they're back on the field, like the reality can hit very quickly of, oh, that's right. Like he wasn't consistently the elite player, the elite talent that he had shown to be last year. And now maybe it's taken another half step forward. So yeah, I think I'd agree with Jacob in terms of fake value increase. And I would explore selling. I don't think you have to be in a rush to do it though. Like I think you might, there could be other value bumps you're getting in the offseason just from the news cycle.
He was still worth a first when he was struggling this year. So I imagine him doing well with the stretch that he did is going to be enough for people to be like, oh, Hurts missed some throws. Oh, a couple drops. He's still got it. He has fallen from last year's 4th round to this year's 6th round. So there is some dynasty loss there, but you're right. Like the stuff to the Patriots, especially if the Patriots go out versus the Texans and the Texans clamp them down, they're going to be like, they need a receiver, get him to the Patriots. People are going to be buying on the hopes that he's paired with Drake May. So I think you're right.
There's going to be reports of potential trades to Buffalo. There's going to be reports of potential trades to New England. There's going to be, if he stays in the Eagles, there's going to be a report about how him and Jalen Hurts got together for a weekend and they talked out their differences and he's recommitted to the Eagles. There's going to be whatever happens in the offseason, there will be versions of AJ Brown fluff pieces that will be all over the airways.
Man, the Titans could really use a wide receiver. I think he might be a good fit there.
They could use a wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree.
A quarterback, a running back.
Pats just make too much sense. Like he grew up a Pats fan, the Vrabel connection.
Lucas.
Maybe it's not this offseason you mentioned because of the financial stuff, but someday before he retires, I think that happens.
They have an out in 2027, but Lucas, statistically speaking, Will Levis outplayed Cam Ward in his rookie year. It didn't
insult my eyes as much. All right, this is the time I'm going to be a film bro. Cam Ward looked infinitely better than Will Levis because
he had a couple.
Gross.
Will Levis gave you memeable moments every week. Cam Ward only gave you a couple, and that's what's really making the difference. He doesn't eat mayo in his coffee. I think if you remove the mayo thing. Anyway, with AJ Brown, we obviously have to talk about the trickle-down effect with Devonta Smith.
Well, I just want to go over trades in Dynasty Daddy right now for AJ Brown because it's all over the place. I see AJ Brown going out just for the 105 straight up. I see AJ Brown going for the 111, 211. I see to move on from AJ Brown to Puka Nacua, all you need to do is add on, I think it was a 107. And then I see another one to go from AJ Brown to Puka Nacua. You need 2 firsts and 2 seconds to do it. See Keon Coleman and Kyle Monongai for AJ Brown. And then I see Zay Flowers and Kyle Monongai for AJ Brown. Like that value is all over the place. So if you can find the trade, the Keon Coleman, Cal Monongai trade in your league, by all means, go out and get A.J. Brown. If you can upgrade from A.J. Brown to Puka freaking Nakua for a mid-first and mid-second, absolutely go out and make those kinds of trades. I think that this one's going to be really, really tough. I have no idea how like the more hardcore dynasty or dynasty manager leagues are going to be with AJ Brown. I think that they're going to be more on the reserve side until those like a major trade happens. So I don't think that he's somebody that you really want to even try to move from your team just yet, just because of like what his baseline trade value is going to be if nothing changes. But if the situation does change, then we're going to see like a massive growth, I feel like, in what people are going to be willing to pay for him. Because right now, I think they are only going to be willing to pay in like your hardcore leagues what the bottom of like a very large tier is going to be to cost to acquire a wide receiver from that.
Yep. And like I said, there's going to be a trickle down effect with Devonta Smith, who I feel there's no change. I think he's just kind of is what he is until I think you need it's waiting for one free agent to sign before the other one does, right? Like there's going to be no movement until if AJ Brown stays, he doesn't move. If AJ Brown goes, he gets an increase. For now, I would say no change because we need AJ Brown to move for him to have a value change. Until then, he's still just one of the top nesting doll wide receivers.
Yeah, for me, Devonta Smith I think he's a really good player. Like maybe I'll be really into him in redraft if AJ Brown were to ever get traded. I'm not really sure how the market would respond to something like that. But yeah, he's getting too up there in age to have like the dynasty value explosion or anything. I just don't think he's that interesting here. I think Jalen Hurts is maybe more interesting, just because the way the way that the NFL media news cycle happens, especially in the playoffs, is we hyper focus on the quarterbacks. There has been so much wall to wall Jalen Hurts isn't actually any good content. This is a debate that will be raging literally until the end of time. I come down on the side of I don't think Jalen Hurts is that good of a real life quarterback, but I think it matters way less in fantasy than most people think. Literally all this guy does is finish as a top 5, top 6 quarterback in fantasy points per game. Even with how bad the offense was this year, he was still very solidly in that top 6. I think this is really anytime a quarterback has a bad playoff performance, again, in front of a national audience, I think they are explore buying. It's a fake value decrease. From what Tom has been telling me in some of the early startup mocks and stuff that he's been running, Hurts is falling into the mid to late second round. I don't know how real that's going to prove to be, but that's absurd.
I got news for you, Ryan.
I can tell you, we have live data because Dynasty Data Lab has started to update. QB7 going at pick 22 on average.
Yeah, so I'm a Jalen Hurts guy this offseason. I just found out. We'll see how this one goes for me. But yeah, that's just insane to me. Even on I've already said we've all already said why we think it's unlikely Brown gets traded. But even if he does, until the point where this franchise decides they have a better option, and I believe with Hurts' contract, that's 2027 at the absolute earliest. Yeah, Hurts is going to keep scoring a bunch of fantasy points. Maybe you're going to lose the value on him eventually if people just completely turn on him. I don't think people are going to turn on him more than they currently have right after this vivid playoff loss, though, unless the scoring does change. So I am very willing to buy into Hurts at these prices, these early prices that we're seeing.
I said it before. I said it before. I said Jalen Hurts is going to be a second round pick, and it's going to be insane. I think I said it on this show. I believe I also said it on the market report, and now it's happening. I've even seen him dip into the third round. We're treating this guy like he's Justin Herbert a couple years ago. It makes no sense to me. Well, they're going to ban the tush push. He's still going to rush for touchdowns. He was doing it pre-tush push era. It insane to me that you can actually start a real startup right now, Lamar Hurts, and is a discount. You don't have to trade up to do it. That's disgusting.
I'll mostly echo what you guys are saying in the fake value decrease column. Although to an extent, I think there's a real fall that needs to happen. I just think it's going to be far more exaggerated than it should be. So I mostly end up agreeing with you guys. I've always been way lower on Hurts's value than the dynasty market. I basically never had him ranked as a mid-first, which is where he's been in previous seasons, just because I don't think he's like anywhere within several tiers of real life quarterback as the other quarterbacks who go in that range. And to me, that just adds risk that at some point, I do think the other shoe drops. I don't think that shoe dropping, as in like he is no longer a starting quarterback in the NFL, is going to happen at any point particularly soon. So I do think we're going to see, if I had to guess, we're going to see him fall even further beyond where I've had him ranked for a while this offseason, and then probably gradually get back closer to where I've had him ranked once he starts scoring a bunch of fantasy points. I'm less into Hurts than you guys are, I think. Like Kid Caddy Tail says, Hurts is giving me Kyler Murray vibes. I agree with that. I think he is very similar in terms of a quarterback who has fantasy-friendly skill sets, was comfortably going in round one for a while, and then started to really atrophy from a real-life perspective. I do think he runs a lot more than Kyler, and that's going to protect him more from a fantasy perspective. I think he's he's a way better real-life quarterback than Fields, but I think he's similar to the extent that basically Kyler, over the last couple of years, has stopped being even a very good fantasy quarterback. I think Hurts will basically continue to be a fantasy quarterback one until such time that he doesn't have an NFL job. And I don't think that latter part is happening in the near future. Anecdotally, I'm in one startup that's already started this off season. It's predominantly with pretty Twitter-brained people, which is not always indicative of home leagues, but I do think is somewhat indicative of where the market might turn at an extremity over the next couple of months. It's my classic triple derby format, which means it's 3 separate drafts for veterans, 2025 rookies, and 2026 rookies. He went at the 305, and that's, again, with all 25 rookies and 26 rookie picks extracted out. So if you were to put Jeremiah Love in that draft, Genty into that draft, maybe even Dart, Loveland, whatever, he might have gone towards the late third in that draft, and he went at the 305 with those guys extracted out. This is also like a pretty quarterback juice scoring league. So we're going to see Hurts in the early to mid third, I think, frequently over the next couple of months. I think that's too extreme. So I mostly go on fake value decrease, but I do think there's a legit fall. He shouldn't be a round one startup quarterback anymore.
I know that I am the disgusting, gross late quarterback extraordinaire. Won leagues this year with Phillip Rivers. We've won leagues with Huntley in the past. Disgusting. But you're telling me that I have the opportunity to go elite quarterback, wide receiver, and elite fantasy quarterback in 1, 2, 3. I will be 2-tapping quarterbacks for the first time in my life in the first 3 rounds if I net Jalen Hurts at Justin Herbert prices. It's just what it is. That's borderline.
It also helps. It also helps that the wide receiver position sucks compared to a year ago.
Yes.
In terms of young talents that we feel really good about, or even guys that we feel like that certain are going to score fantasy points. It is just so much less deep. The way that NFL offenses, the ones that there are a few that are still kind of doing that are the Cowboys, the Bengals, what have you, that can still support 2 guys. There's a few that have just condensed into this heavy personnel, hyper efficiency stuff. Your Jackson Smith and Jigbas, so maybe sort of throw the Lions in there. And then there's a lot of offenses that just can't support much fantasy production for wide receivers, frankly. That's kind of where we're at in the NFL right now. So it makes the quarterbacks in those second and third rounds of startups a lot more interesting to me than they were a season ago.
I will say it's going to be really funny whenever AJ Brown is traded, so the Eagles can draft Jordan Tyson, and we're just going to get this very fun little cycle going there. And I don't think that the Eagles, with as much as they have invested into the offense into trying to make Jalen Hurts succeed. I don't think that they're going to leave him without another weapon, whether that means they're moving off of AJ Brown via trade and then going and drafting somebody, or if they're going out and trying to sign somebody else to try to refill his position. It's going to be an interesting time. But
Lucas, you're forgetting Dynasty Fantasy Football favorite Jahan Dotson. Like that's the weapon to replace him with. Everyone's been stashing him, blaming the systems. It's his time to shine.
When does he become a favorite? I don't remember this conversation.
Years ago, they've all quieted down, but they're waiting. They're waiting dormant for their moment to strike.
Gosh.
It's like the Sam Howell fans all over again. Moving on. Next player we got. We've gotten to the Eagles. We've gotten 4 players deep in 36 minutes in very Dynasty Points fashion. Next up.
Yeah. Ladd McConkey. So this one's going to be fascinating. I think I'm going to be very price sensitive on Ladd this offseason. I am still at the point where I think he's a really talented player. I watch him. He can win routes. His rookie season efficiency was excellent. His sophomore efficiency, not so great. There's plenty of excuses you can make about the Chargers offensive line, which I think are very valid. There's obviously the Greg Roman getting fired aspect of this. Potentially gets a more exciting offensive coordinator. Maybe targets start to condense more if Keenan Allen retires as well. So it's pretty easy to build in your head a version of the 2026 Chargers offense that is pretty exciting, that is maybe even like the weeks 1 through 4 version before Herbert got completely broken and the offensive line got completely broken. We definitely saw flashes of a high octane Chargers offense that would be freaking awesome for Ladd McConkey to be in. So I don't know. I've talked myself in circles for 45 seconds and I don't even know where I want to put him, but I'll turn it over to Jacob, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think I feel similarly to you. I have one of the hardest times grasping what to feel about him. Really loved him as a prospect, was a huge hit year 1, just mostly mid to bad all of year 2 without any injury that we know of. The offensive environment was obviously bad with the O-line issues, but even among the wide receivers, he wasn't able to consistently separate himself from Keenan Allen, from Quentin Johnston, from Aronde Gadsden. It seems as though he just simply played much worse this year than the previous year, and it makes it very difficult, when we're talking about a young player, it wouldn't have some sort of physical decline to determine who the real Ladd McConkey is. It wouldn't be the first time that a player had a really promising rookie season and then seemingly fell off a cliff. I mean, his season was way better than Jahan Dotson's rookie season or Elijah Moore's rookie season, but it certainly brings up those comparisons. If I had to guess, I think he winds up settling in somewhere between the two as a solid startable asset, but as more of a nesting doll receiver than as the very high upside option he looked to be in year 1. But yeah, I think there's pretty wide error bars, and I agree with you, Ryan. I'll be very price sensitive, and think basically whatever the market assumes he's more of between his year 1 self and year 2 self, I'll probably take the other side of. But I guess I'll put feeble faller in the sense that he does need a severe downgrade. Whether I think that's too much of a downgrade or the right amount, I really have no idea.
Well, he's wide receiver 16, and funny enough, currently being drafted beside Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver 17 and wide receiver 16, respectively.
Where's Thomas?
That's so high.
Where's Thomas while we're on the 2024 wide receivers? Or 2020?
Wide receiver 18, Rome Odunze. Wide receiver 19. 16, 17.
All 4 in a row.
19. Yep.
That's
okay. Well, we have Thomas, I think, coming up, or we have other Jags anyways. While we're here, independent of price, which I guess is pretty fair to say because they're all going in a row anyway. How would you rank them in terms of like you get this guy for their career? How would you order these for? All same draft class, probably 4 of the hardest players to value in Dynasty right now. How would you go?
Ladd, Rome, BTJ, Marv, pretty confidently. Rome showed he could be good pre-foot injury. His separation, his per route was pretty good. Ladd, to me, is like the best player of the group. So I'll rank him first. BTJ, just because I think he's better than Marv, who I think is actually bad.
Oh my God, I have such a hard time doing this.
I've thought about this a lot already.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pull up my rankings and see how I ranked it 3 days ago when I did this, but I'm pretty sure I exactly agree with Tom.
I can make this decision right now.
I'm going to say BTJ, Ladd, Rome, Marvin Harrison Jr., which just feels gross.
Actually, maybe BTJ had some moments, but I think Parker Washington's wide receiver 1. We'll talk about that. But
I'll say, like, if we're just going with like confidence in them being useful, I think I would have the same order as you because I've never really seen Ladd be like actually awful. And Rome, I agree. I'm pretty sure he's like a player. But if I was going like, who do I actually think has a really, really high ceiling still? I actually think the ceiling is higher on both Brian Thomas and Marv. Just they're younger. Marv was the best prospect. BTJ, we saw the highest peak. So, like, as a dynasty asset, like,
I can't do Marv.
I don't even know if I believe this. I'm gonna need to sit on it for a while. So when I do my rankings update, it might not reflect what I'm about to say. But like, I'll have them all in the same tier. I think I actually might just rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. in Dynasty. I think if I was to get if you said one of these guys is going to be like an 18 plus points per game guy, that might be my bet. Him or Thomas, I think would be my bet.
Snatched by Michael Wilson in every.
Yeah, I mean, I think most likely he's like a nothing in Dynasty.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
I mean, he still, I think, has like the widest range of outcomes out of any of them, which is a wild thing to say for him, but that's kind of where we are now.
I think that's BTJ.
Someone's asking about Hunter. We're going to get there in a second. Someone's asking about Olave. I would take Olave over all 4 of those guys. Very
same.
Elite,
I ranked Olave as my wide receiver 13, and I would much rather. He's like a tier above all of, like, or whatever, like a half tier above all those guys.
Yep.
I did have it ranked Ladd, Rome, BTJ, Marv. Not all back to back. I had some guys like in between them. So I'm going to end up. This is what I was talking about with Luther Burden a couple weeks ago. I think I'm going to end up higher on Ladd in terms of he's my wide receiver 15. I feel pretty okay with that, but I think ultimately it's going to be I'm not going to be drafting much of my wide receiver 15 through my wide receiver 24 or 25 or whatever 15. In Dynasty is my guess. So this is who I haven't ordered directly
out. That
below.
Feels so fucking bleak. I'm not even saying I won't be there. I haven't done my 26 rankings yet, so
Dude,
maybe I'll be the same ranking. That just feels awful.
It does. I agree. I look at that and I'm like, oh man. But so here's who I have directly below him. I have Emeka Ibuka, who I suspect Jacob will prefer.
Would definitely take above him. Yeah,
for sure. I'm not sure. I'm
not even an Ibuka guy, but I would just take him because he's only played 1 year. He's younger by a couple of years.
Fair. To me, I don't know if like looking back on the Ibuka season, we never really saw him be the guy with like as the number 1 receiver in any sense of the word, right? All of his fantasy scoring essentially came with Mike Evans on the field outside of like 1 game, basically. I think he's a useful player, all of that. I don't think he's going to 0 or anything like that. I don't know that the upside is actually that big for him as a player.
Yeah, I mean, I probably agree. I don't know if it is that big for Ladd either. I mean, did Emeka Ibuka just had Ladd's first 2 years, but he compressed them into 1?
Yeah, more or less.
Similar prospect.
And then right below Ibuka, I had Luther Burden and Rashee Rice.
Oh, I would have Burden like way above these guys. By a mile. And then I would do Rice. I mean, I will always have issues with the off-field stuff with Rice, but I've seen him be a very productive fantasy receiver every time he plays. I would definitely take him over these guys too.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, you would prefer those two. Ultimately, I'm going to prefer none of them in terms of like how I'm actually suspecting I'm going to draft based on what the market does. But yeah, that's how I ordered them.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think we're going to see come startup season a strategy in which people are trading out of those picks to go up and get somebody else like that's in that top wide receiver tier. I think that people are going to be doing their best to somehow come away with either a Jamar Chase and potentially Puka, although I don't think Puka's falling to the second now. But they're trying to go up. They're going to get 2 wide receivers back to back potentially to start their drafts, even if they have to trade up to do so. And they're going to be okay waiting and grabbing wide receivers later on. I don't know exactly where Wan'Dale Robinson's going right now. I should have probably looked that up before I started talking. But they're going to be okay with just stacking the rest of their wide receivers with just whatever they can pull off the scrap heap, whatever slot merchant's going to be there.
40.
Yeah, they're going to be perfectly fine with him being their wide receiver 3 and just moving on with life, I feel like, because we're going to get into this point to where you're either going to have to decide if you're just going to have a bunch of nesting doll wide receivers or a bunch of wide receivers who were good coming into their second year. And I don't know, nobody wants Marvin Harrison Jr. to be their wide receiver 1. I don't think people want Brian Thomas Jr. to be their wide receiver 1. Like it's just going to get fair. It's just going to get so gross so fast. And I'm going to be really curious to see if these wide receivers start to fall even more. Like if we're talking go ahead.
To your point, like I just pulled up that draft board of the draft I was referencing earlier. And you couldn't back up your point more. Like here's starting from the second round, we see 1 million receivers go. We got Amon-Ra at 2.2, Jefferson 2.4, CD 2.5, London 2.7, Olave 2.8, Collins 2.10, Rice 2.11, Pickens 2.12, Garrett Wilson 3.1. Then I remember there's 25 rookies are excluded from this because of the draft structure. So there's no Ibuka, there's no McMillan, there's no Hunter, any of that stuff, no burden. No one takes a wide receiver from 3.2 through 4.2. 13 straight picks, no wide receivers come off the board. Then we get, sure enough, Marvin, then Ladd, then Rome, and then we get a couple more T. Higgins and Zay Flowers come off the board, and then Brian Thomas. So all in the same round. But 14 picks consecutively with no wide receivers.
I will say
to this group of
2024 guys. I have seen Marvin Harrison Jr. get traded for Wan'Dale and Harold Fannin, and I was like, "Yep," like I would. Yep,
that's pretty reasonable.
Round 6 BTJ is going to hit so hard though at one point in time. Like I'm going to be sitting there and I'm like, this is a guy who was like a legit wide receiver 1. This is a guy who was going for 2 1s plus this time last offseason. Like he's not bad at football. He's just in a role now that doesn't make a lot of sense for his
I just have such a hard I think he is in a role that makes sense for his skill set. They tried him in the role that doesn't make sense for his skill set and he was bad at it.
But Lawrence won't even throw him the ball. Like I don't know.
He did
like
throw him
he's
the ball
so weird.
And he's never in the right spot.
Bring back Mac Jones. Bring back Mac Jones to Brian Thomas Jr. or trade him to wherever Mac Jones is.
Can we be done? Can we be done with this Lawrence stuff? Like the offense was great. They ascended over the second half of the season. They won 13 games.
Yeah.
Clearly there is a fit disconnect between Lawrence and Thomas. But like this whole like Mac Jones is better than Trevor Lawrence stuff. Enough.
No. I don't think that, but he's way more fun for Brian Thomas Jr.
Imagine
I totally agree. Like Lawrence clearly
offense. Let's imagine what you could do.
Oh my God. Like Lawrence clearly has a stylistic preference at wide receiver, which is like he wants to throw over the middle and he wants to throw to slot receivers and tight ends. And that is not really what Thomas was doing. They tried to bring Thomas into that role. He wasn't good at it. That's why it got changed. It was a very bad connection. They found, they were going to do Hunter. He got hurt. They brought in Myers. Eventually they settled on Washington. And like, we saw that, like, yeah, like if you have someone who can do those things, that is like what Lawrence wants to do. Clearly the offense worked fine as it was. So yeah, I think Thomas clearly needs a trade, and he needs a trade to like a specific type of quarterback who wants to throw outside the numbers to him, because unfortunately he is limited. And so he needs another quarterback who's willing to suit that.
Can I tell you how I think it's going to go? And it's not the most popular take in the world. I think that Parker Washington just confirms to Jacksonville that Hunter should be corner 1 with the wide receiver package, and they'll end up keeping Brian Thomas Jr., Washington, and Jacoby Myers as their regular 11 personnel wide receiver set, and have designed play sets for Hunter, who ends up playing more cornerback, which was our worst fear overall. I just have a feeling that's going to go, because
that's the most likely scenario.
That's the most likely, in my opinion. And it means I'm going to have a lot of Travis Hunter that I don't want to have. But the way Parker Washington played, the way Jacoby Myers played, and then Brian Thomas Jr. settling into that X role, I just have a feeling what we saw in that second half without Hunter is just going to confirm that to Jacksonville, who are just going to best utilize their players.
The only reason I think that might not happen, I think that's the most likely scenario, because if the roster is what it is, I think that's what makes the most sense, which is just, and it's like, I mean, and I still maintain, and I'll say if I'm wrong, if the most likely scenario, or if what I think that does not happen, and Hunter does play wide receiver, I will remain on record that I think he would have had a fantastic second half of this year. I think if he does play wide receiver next year, he's going to have a fantastic year. I might still remain a massive, massive believer in Hunter's talent. But I mostly agree with you. I like Washington and Lawrence had fantastic chemistry. I see no reason to disrupt that. Why would you not move into next year with him as the plan there? They just extended Jacoby. I think those two are fairly locked in. And then the question is Thomas. Like, if Thomas is on the roster next year, there's no reason for them to not play him as the X wide receiver and make Hunter rotational. But I do think, like, I would suspect Brian Thomas is a first-round pick who had such a good rookie year. Like, there must be some teams who really like him out there. And you have to imagine teams will be calling Jacksonville about him. And Jacksonville gave up all this draft capital for Hunter. Like, they will probably want to replenish draft capital. I think that a Thomas trade is pretty plausible. He's on a rookie contract, so the money works. It's very fungible. And if you got a compelling offer, I could easily see them looking at their offense and just being like, we have Brian Thomas, who's like overqualified for this kind of shitty role in our offense. He's clearly not very well suited to a more versatile role. So let's recoup draft capital. Let's trade him. And then we'll use Hunter to fill that gap. I still think that's pretty plausible. I wouldn't say it's over 50%, but like, I don't think it's remote. I think it's like 30 to 40% chance that Thomas gets traded this offseason. Ultimately, I think that trade is necessary for Hunter's dynasty value. I also think it's necessary for Thomas's dynasty value. I think P-Wash is probably fine either way.
I think the absolutes being spoken, not just in chat, but like, this is going to happen because Hunter, I think, doesn't account for the team going, oh, this is the best way our team operated. So like, we always talk about good teams just don't let good players go for the sake of letting them go. And I feel like kind of like that's where we're at with BTJ. I think that's more likely a year 4 thing than a year 3 thing. Right, like, especially
he'll have way better value this offseason
with Hunter coming back from injury. That's a lot for them to rely on.
Okay,
so
like, they could sign fucking retired Marvin Jones and get what they were getting out of Brian Thomas. Like, he wasn't doing anything. He was just running wind sprints out there.
Let's just play something out here. Do you think if say Dallas decides they can't keep George Pickens, they either want to pay him the franchise tag or they're willing to let him walk and just take the comp pick or the supplemental draft pick later on. I'm getting the wrong word here, and I apologize for that. But they just say George Pickens walks. Can we manifest that Brian Thomas Jr. goes to the Cowboys for like BTJ in a third for Dallas's first? Like, because Jaguars really want a first round pick. It could even be the 20th pick. But can we get him to Dallas some way, somehow, and fill the role that George Pickens was just in? Because that would be amazing.
I think George Pickens is just going to fill that role. I think that's a lot of fan fiction, but I do think there's a lot of teams. Why don't you want that?
Well, because I want Pickens to go somewhere else to help out some of these like just pitiful wide receiver rooms that are around the
Thomas
NFL.
Just go do that? Why do we need 2 trades? Why are we making things complicated?
Because
why can't Thomas just go to the Bills?
I have more BTJ shares than Pickens shares, so I'm okay if Pickens goes somewhere else and it doesn't work out for me. But I do think the best case scenario for BTJ is to go to like a Dallas, because I think he would just work out so unbelievably well there.
Yeah, I mean, sure, he'd be great there, but that seems like we're manifesting too many things at once.
I'm manifesting it.
The problem with BTJ going to the Cowboys to replace Pickens is that Pickens is a better wide receiver than Brian Thomas Jr., and it's not a 1-for-1 swap. Because if Brian Thomas Jr. had the talent of someone like George Pickens, Jacksonville's not trading him. And I don't think a team is giving up a 1 for him on a down season where he's.
I think he'd get a 2+ though.
I think the work ethic is challenged, injury, down year. I just think it's a lot of dynasty fanfic and not a lot.
I don't think it is. Okay. There were reports they were listening to offers at the deadline on him, and that was before the Washington breakout. That does not come out of nowhere. I don't think it's fanfic. Like I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think it's not fan fiction. Like, he's a guy that was a first-round pick who has a ton of production and is clearly talented. It's just a horrible fit with Lawrence. It's a horrible fit with Cohen. Like, I don't know. It would seem very rational for several other teams to value him higher than Jacksonville does. And if you get that scenario, then I think a trade makes sense. But yeah, I definitely think, like, if he's still on the roster with the scenario with Hunter, like, the rational thing to do for Jacksonville, if they keep Thomas, is like, look, we're not saying no, never on the 2-way full time, but you're coming back from this major injury. We have Thomas, who's still here. We have these 2 guys who really came on down the stretch. Our corner room sucks. We traded Tyson Campbell for Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome's a bust there, and he is not under contract for next year. We're going to play full-time corner for Hunter this year. We're going to get him some offensive plays, and then we'll reassess next offseason, if there's a different need. That would be probably what I expect to happen. Obviously, it's fluid. I mean, someone could go down with Parker Washington picks up a high ankle sprain in week 4, and maybe they say, okay, we're going to expand Hunter's package, and then he looks good, and they keep expanding Hunter's package. Like, it's going to be dynamic. But what are you about package? You don't like package got to you, Tom?
I just know what you've been watching on TV of late, so I just.
All right, Travis Rosenov.
Yeah. I have two things I want to interject. The first is I just want to yell at chat for a minute because there's some crazy takes in chat here that I think are maybe worth addressing.
I get baited into it all the time, and I wasn't going to do it this time.
Okay, just really quickly, a couple things. Feel free to jump in if you guys have stuff to add. Papa Dunk, are BTJ's and McConkey's rookie year production being inflated by target share since they were the only real option that year? Once there was just one other receiving option, they both deflated. To some extent, yes, probably. I don't know that the BTJ, I would say very clearly yes, in terms of like it just wasn't that functional of an offense. He was clearly the best player on it. Makes sense that a lot of targets went to him. I think he can be that good in like an ideal role for him. That is clearly not in Jacksonville right now. McConkey is way more confusing to me because like Quentin Johnston was there, that like a guy that he was completely alphaing was there. Keenan Allen, sure, but like he was barely even on like a 60% route share half the season. Like McConkey is way less easily explained by that than BTJ to me. And I think that's part of why I'm like more willing to like close my eyes and say, okay, what's the average of Ladd McConkey? I think it's more likely to me that he's actually really good and has a high ceiling as a player. And the other thing I wanted to say was at Graphic 1337 wanting Brian Thomas Jr. to Washington. I would kind of hate that. Is he that different of a player than like a Terry McLaurin? That doesn't like make a ton of sense to me. Maybe it's like fun with both of them. I don't know that that's like the best like fantasy value spot though, if we're wish casting.
It should be whatever team Mac Jones gets traded to from San Francisco. And enough with the Bills stuff. I don't want a good wide receiver near the Bills because the Bills spread the ball around too much.
They spread the ball around because they have no wide receivers. They gave Stephon Diggs like 160 targets a year.
I just don't know if that's going to be the case ever again for a wide receiver in Buffalo. We want it for first round picks all the time. I just don't. I'm just done.
That's crazy talk. The Bills had a superstar wide receiver.
And
he was a wide receiver one every single year. But ever since they've had horrible wide receivers, so they
haven't prioritized it either. They've gone the full Matt LaFleur. We don't need a wide receiver one. Like they've.
Right, but if they traded for one, then they would be doing something different.
They could have done that already. They could have traded. They could have drafted one. The one they tried to draft was Keon frickin' Coleman, and he was ass.
And he sucks. If he was good, he'd probably be lighting it up.
I just don't think so. I don't think so.
All right, to cap this off, why don't we do this? Just rank the 4 Jaguars wide receivers in Dynasty between, regardless of cost, who do you want? Because I do think this is a little fluid for people, and these guys might end up moving around or going closer in startups than we might expect. So, I mean, between Brian Thomas, Hunter, Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, how do you order them?
This to me is like just a how do you play Dynasty question, because like I would order it. I'd probably order them Hunter, who I think has a 60% chance of not playing wide receiver next year first, because I don't respect the upside of any of these other guys. Then Thomas, and then Parker, then Jacoby. If you're saying who do I think scores the most points, I think it's Parker and Jacoby. To what extent does that matter to my Dynasty team? Not enough for me to care about them.
Yeah, it would just be Parker Washington for me, and I'll just let everyone else. I'll just take the production and get my wide receiver upside elsewhere.
I'm going to be so curious where Parker Washington's going to go. I'm still okay if you're trading like a base first. All of our 2026 first round picks have been assigned, but if you could still trade like a mid to late first round pick for Travis Hunter, I'm okay doing that. I'm okay taking that risk. No, I wasn't about to say Parker Washington, but like the upside's still there with him, and I'm still going to be chasing
all my Hunters for a base one today.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, instantly. But like,
I would do the same. Yeah.
This is I'll take whoever's cheaper. That's going to be my favorite line. But like, if it's not to the cost and I can just take based on production, I'll take Parker Washington, then probably Jacoby, and then probably everyone else.
Also, just trying to get my fan fiction
You're taking
out
Jacoby
there
over Brian Thomas and Hunter, and like to what? He's worth like a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, but if I could again just take who's cheaper and probably mimic.
No, we're saying regardless of cost.
6%?
So like it's just who do you want? Like you're on the clock in the startup. Jacoby is there, Thomas is there, Hunter. You're clicking Jacoby Myers?
I would go Thomas first and then Parker. But like the way you said, like depending on how you play, like I would happily just roster Parker and Jacoby over rostering Hunter and BTJ if any sort of.
But the question was regardless of cost. So like it's just who do you want?
Yeah, BTJ and then Parker and then whoever else. I don't want to roster Travis Hunter. There's way too many needs to happen, too much in the air, and I have actively decided that I am going to stop totally diving into uncertainty. I think is how I'm going to play things. Because if things go sour, I don't make moves fast enough. So I'm leaning away from uncertainty right now, just with how I'm starting to play.
I have it ranked currently BTJ, Hunter, bit of like a gap to Parker Washington, big gap Jacoby Myers. Jacoby gives you neither. He doesn't give you the relevant production. I think Parker could be like a production piece that matters. he's young. He's 23. This was his third year. Like, he keeps outplaying guys that are brought in to replace him. It's like one of the most fantasy friendly roles in the NFL that he's currently in. Like, I would be totally cool with like shipping off early seconds for Parker Washington if I wanted points. I think he can give them to you next year. So maybe that'll be a guy I have a ton of in redraft or something. Would guess he's the one I draft most in Dynasty and startups this offseason.
But more importantly, you should all want to roster Brenton Strange. That's the real takeaway.
All right, just playing into my fanfic just because I have to, and I went to over the cap. Cowboys are $39 million over the cap going into 2026.
It's not happening, Lucas.
I'm just saying, let's get him to Dallas. It can happen. Dallas doesn't have a second-round pick. Dallas doesn't have a third-round pick. They have 2 first-round picks. If they can move one of those for BTJ plus 2/3 from Jacksonville, I think that makes too much sense. But that's just me. What do I know? I'm just here talking about fantasy football, and Dallas won't listen to me.
But why should Dallas do that? Why shouldn't they just pay George Pickens?
Because they don't have the money to pay George Pickens. That's what my point was. They have $39 million over the cap right now.
You can always find money.
This is going to be a 3-hour long. It's fitting that this is going to be a 3-hour long.
We'll go faster the rest of the day.
Let's do Jaguars running backs really quick. Travis Etienne, Bashal Tuten. Tuten looked really awesome on a handful of carries. That's like nothing new to me. So I'm personally, I'm on no change for Tuten. I still think he's a good player. There's like a small chance that Etienne doesn't re-sign this offseason, and that would maybe be cool. I don't actually think much has changed for him. I don't think much has changed for Etienne either based on the playoffs. I don't know where he's going to go. I suspect this is going to be a case of like, I'm not buying the kind of like the veteran running back right after he had one of his better seasons type of deal. Like I'll take like the grosser ones. You want like next year's Travis Etienne to me is how I like hunt for points in Dynasty. But yeah, anyone else?
I do like Etienne.
Say anything?
I like Etienne right now. I just drafted him in that startup. I got him like after Walker, after Javonte, way after Hall. If I had to guess, just because he's coming off of the best season, I think he lands the biggest contract of any of the free agent running backs. Maybe Hall beats him because he's had more pedigree and he's younger. But I think Etienne gets the bag. I think most likely it's from Jacksonville, but it might not be. And I think, Jacksonville's a really good spot for him. I think there's just the nature of being one of the best free agent running backs is there's probably not any bad alternative. Like he's either re-signing in Jacksonville where he just had a really good season, or he's going to get a lot of money from a different team who plans to prioritize the shit out of him. So at least from like a short to medium term perspective, I don't think there's any bad outcome for Travis Etienne in free agency. And I'm probably into him. I agree. There's no real change because of that. And yeah, Tuten, same thing. I think he's really good. If Etienne leaves, I will be extremely, extremely in. If Etienne doesn't leave, I'll probably still be somewhat in because I think he's a good player. But yeah, we'll see on him.
I do have Etienne ahead of Javonte for the record. So I would approve of that.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get a way bigger contract than Javonte. If I had to just wager on how NFL teams will value things.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in the note.
He gets bigger than DeAndre Swift money, Walter. Maybe I'm out on a limb here, but I think he's going to get like Jacobs money. You know what my prediction is? I think Etienne ends up on the Bears. I think he's exactly what Ben Johnson likes. Yeah, but he said he wouldn't go anywhere cold. Oh, that he is a Florida guy, isn't he? They interviewed him, and he siphoned off his own bargaining power. He said, I wasn't born to be in cold weather. I'm only considering warm weather destinations. Okay, well, Florida it is. You can rule out the Chiefs. You can rule out the Bears. He's so resigning in Why wouldn't he resign in Jacksonville? Just at the best season of his career. He's with his buddy from college, Trevor Lawrence. Like, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, unless the Jaguars are like super woke about it, and Liam Cohen is like, look, I know I'm the running back god, and I can make anyone productive and efficient. So why would we ever spend money on this position? Which I think would be a reasonable position for him to have. He does seem to have that golden touch with the position. So maybe that's their approach, but like, I don't know. It's like, how much can a running back really command? Like, if you like him and he's a good fit, it's like, would you not give him 10 million? Like, would he take that? Probably. Would you give him that? Why not? So we'll see.
I also think Gladstone is a GM that maybe will want like the easy wins, if that makes sense, after kind of the, I don't know, like the roller coaster of the Travis Hunter pick and all the criticism they took. Like, I don't know. I don't have that good of a read on the guy, but to me, that's very easy, like, way to get the fan base and ownership and everything like on your side.
Yeah.
Yep. I like it. Next up, keep it moving.
Next up, Jalen Coker.
Rightful riser to the
riser,
moon.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, to the moon.
Yeah.
Still has Bryce Young. That is still a problem. He just has the same problem Tedero McMillan has now. But yeah, confirmed really awesome player. Glad he wasn't cut in training camp like the Panthers beat reporters were trying to gaslight us.
Could not
into
disagree
believing.
more with Chris on this, by the way. I continue to want beat reporters to do a bunch of bullshit. I would like that a lot, actually, if beat reporters continue to do dumb stuff like that.
Yeah. Anything else on Coker? Does anyone disagree on Coker? Are we too out? Is this Gabe Davis all over again, or is this actually a player that's really good and that has earned targets at different points throughout the year, and I'm sure has more like 20% plus target share games than Gabe Davis has in his career already?
I mean, we're not.
I love making up stats that I have no idea if they're real.
Tom rolled his eyes, so maybe he has the contrary take on Coker. I saw eyes rolling.
Yeah, that offense isn't like Bryce Young is not supporting two legitimate fantasy wide receivers ever. I would sell Coker at the peak of his hype. There's just enough wide receivers that I'll just take the draft capital I can.
Let's just play out the game here of like, what is his actual value right now? Because I think he only has value to people like who are in the stats who just love this guy, but they're not going to be going out there paying. Like, they might pay a second if you're lucky.
He's a fake dynasty favorite because he's like a favorite for someone if they got him for cheap, but they'll pound the table for him, but never actually pay the pound the table price for him.
I mean, I'm not paying a first for him, if that's what you're saying. I'd pay a second for Jalen Coker.
You can have all my Cokers.
I did say all those really nice things. I did rank him next to Adonai Mitchell. I am realizing, but
I'd way rather have.
I kind of like Adonai Mitchell too, though. That might be saying more about what I
can't be objective with Adonai Mitchell. That guy has caused me so much emotional distress. I hate that person.
So in the league of
if I
record,
saw him on the street, I would probably be rude to him. So
in the league of record, if y'all want to come get Jalen Coker from me, my team's garbage, so please come and do that.
Coker is one of those players.
I'm saying more mid to late too on my.
One of those things.
Right there, Chernobyl.
He's the type of player that's going to get propped up by the playoff performance in like week 18, and then everything
already building towards it though. Like he was really good last year. He had a significant injury at the end of training camp. Missed the first 4-6 weeks.
Well, he was
got
good
ramped up. He had to re-beat out Xavier Leggett. But then, like, if you look at the way he closed the season, 4 for 74 and 1, 4 for 60 and 1, 3 for 47, 2 for 16, 6 47 and 1, and then the explosion 9 for 134 and 1. But like, it wasn't until the very end of the year that he actually started to play better after recovering from the injury, but more importantly, earn the full routes. Like when he first came back, he was still having to split shit with fucking Xavier Leggett, and then like eventually they figured it out. They were like, "You're actually the wide receiver too. You're full on, like you're running 95% of the routes." So like presumably, especially since that is the last thing the Panthers have experienced is this explosion game. As long as we get through next year without an injury, like that's the plan from day one is full-time wide receiver 2 on the Panthers. Is that worth a lot? I'm not sure, but I think he's a really good player. He solidified his role. I'll take the long view on him. 17
points against the Rams, great. 14 against New Orleans, and 7, 3.5. 16 and a half.
Like 28.
I'm looking at just PPR. It was like not in week 13. Week 13.
I thought you were talking about the Rams playoff game.
14, 7.5, 3.5, and then week 18, which we don't really count, 16.5, and then the playoff game. It's like he can play well against the Rams and he can play well against the Falcons. Like other than that, like someone in chat said he's good. Just don't know if the wide receiver 2 on the Panthers, the wide receiver 1 on the Panthers, we're hoping gets better and productive. So if you're telling me
wide receiver 1 on the Panthers, what if he's better than McMillan?
Okay, no, we stop it right there. McMillan was playing through an injury for part of the season as well, which is worth noting. So there were some games where it's like, oh, is Coker kind of alphaing him? I think T-Mac was hurt for the last like 7 or so weeks of the year.
I will say that Coker is the type of player that I would rather turn into the second, because it is way easier to use a second to go and get a real asset like a startable running back than somebody like Coker is for the most part. So I'll take the more liquid asset that is easier to move for those running backs that become way more important than one of 30 wide receivers that can have a week like he can on any given week.
Yeah, like I'm not moving him unless I'm getting a second, and a second that I feel like, either 2027 second or we're talking like 204. Then I feel like pretty good about moving on from him. And it's like, okay, thanks. You were fun. Thanks for helping my team get a little bit better because got you for dirt cheap. Is what it is with him. Love him to death. But I don't know if he's
for my cold dead hands.
Hey, if you want Coker in the league, just come talk to me, man. I need draft picks.
I'll come talk with you. All right, let's keep it going here.
I want to see a second trade before the show is done.
Let's keep it going because
let's do the Bears.
We just spent a bunch of time on a guy who has like around 13 ADP. So
that's
amazing though.
Special though.
Yeah. Now we're gonna get into someone. Now we're gonna get into players who actually have value. The 3 Bears. We got Colston Loveland, Luther Burden.
This is gonna be 2 hours minimum.
Loveland. I mean, I would say
rightful
riser on both Loveland and Williams. I don't know what we're doing with Burden. Like, are we only counting the playoff game because he didn't do anything in the playoff, or are we counting like the larger like late season rise? Because the playoff he didn't do shit, but I would say like no change. I don't think any worse of him after the playoff game.
He hasn't hit a 70% route share in any game of his career. Like that, I understand he's really dynamic. He has looked awesome at times. The fact that Odunze came back immediately in a week when Odunze himself was saying, yeah, I'm kind of not really well conditioned right now. I might be on a snap count, and played a ton more than him. It is like horrifying to me.
Still got out targeted by him though.
Yeah, fair. But Rome Odunze produced before getting injured early in the season to like a pretty reasonable level, to the point where people were ranking him as like a fringe top 12 dynasty wide receiver for a hot second there. Like, Rome has showed he can play. Loveland can definitely play.
Loveland's
where does that leave Burden to me? Like,
I don't care.
I think it's like maybe slightly better than likely that Burden is a better player than Rome in real life. I don't know to what extent that translates to fantasy when Loveland is better than both of them anyway. So it's like, how much do I care that the 65% ish kind of, I don't want to call him a gadgety player because that's like lazy and like it's just leaning on the prospect eval.
Size. He's a prototypical size wide receiver who was drafted in round 2 onto a team that already had established starters. Like, I don't know. Like, as a rookie, the fact that he had limited routes, like, does that really bother you? It doesn't bother me at all.
Well, it's that he couldn't get Zacchaeus for those, which I think is the main problem.
Yeah, I mean, he's raw, but he's like a 21-year-old player. Like, aren't we allowed to let people develop? Like, there's a lot of players that didn't have. Well, CeeDee Lamb wasn't a full route share player behind Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. So, like, it's not. It only bothers me if 170 pounds. He has a prototype size.
It only bothers me if he's like a round 3 startup pick. That's like where I start to be like, okay, maybe show you can get on an NFL field into a full-time role before I draft you in round 3 of a startup.
Luther Burden is the type of player that is just picked as a favorite by everyone, and then we're hoping. Hold on,
ridiculously good.
Sure. That's
and was like an extremely productive player from freshman year. Like it's not like he's like some crazy nerdy take. Like he was like the 101 in Devi for like several years because he was ludicrously productive as a freshman at Missouri. He was the #1 high school recruit. Like he's always been the dude.
And then he fell to like
variance
2 in rookie drafts because there was legitimate red flags on his production profile. And then
he put up the best season by yards per route run by a rookie since Puka Nacua.
Yeah, but but there's
moves like ways that no players move. Like he's ridiculous to watch.
Yeah, I just think he's had 3 legitimate usable games in his career. And then, like Ryan pointed out, got big dog in routes by Adunze. And then Loveland looks like he's like #1 in the pecking order. I think Burden is going to get pushed up like aggressively high because there's going to be he's Amon-Ra St. Brown stuff. Even though people hate Amon-Ra St. Brown, they want a new Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't fully get that, but I think he's like fine. I think he's a rightful riser because there's potential there. I just think he has a long way to go to like if he hits, I'll say this, if he hits anywhere near like round 4, then I'll say
he's definitely hitting round 4. He's 100% hitting round
4. I'll never draft him.
All right. I will take him in every single startup in round 4.
I'm so annoyed.
6, and that's like fine because he's going next to like Laporta and Scatabo, and I'll click
easy.
I mean,
here's the thing: when you get to this point, and I say this a lot, more wide receivers creep into that top 12 on projection and not merit than
why is projection and merit 2 different things? Like we project. That's like, why do you have to see something if there's every player that becomes something at some point isn't something, then they become something. Our job is to project.
Right. Brian Thomas Jr. went at the 2-1, and I said last year that was a mistake because we're projecting this giant leap for him, and I never took him at 2-1.
But that's how it goes. Every player that's ever become worth 3 firsts at some point hasn't proven that they're worth that, and some work out and some don't. But to just be like, I'm never gonna make the bet, like. I mean, you'll have fewer busts, but you'll also have fewer hits.
But I'm not saying to never make the bet. I'll take the bet right now when it's round 6. But there just comes a value impasse where I'm like, I'm just not going to draft him blindly every single time because I think X. I think that's bad. That's a bad bet.
I think he's going to be legitimately like. I think he's going to be fake overpriced. Like I don't think that's a thing that's even on our thing.
Colston Loveland going in the 4th round. Like that's
not going to happen in a couple of months. He's going to be.
But that's what I'm saying. Take it now, so you don't have to take it when he's in the 3rd round when peak hype season hits.
I mean, I still think there's people that are going to hype Burden. I'm going to hype Burden, but like Dave, who I love and respect, is like I think probably not on an island. Like he's saying, I think Rome is better. I just lean Rome. Like. I don't think that's going to be a popular take. I think Burden has a higher ADP than Rome, but like, I don't think it's going to be a 0 take. Like, I think that'll be like a 60-40 thing. I think that is going to prove to be very incorrect. I think watching them, 2 of them, one moves way more dynamically. One is better at the catch point. One is capable of being used in a way more fantasy-friendly way because you want to scheme gadget touches to Luther Burden. You don't want to scheme gadget touches to Rome Odunze. He's not very good after the catch. I think that the gap between those 2 should be actually quite wide. And like, maybe I shouldn't say should be because sure, like if you want to get into the weeds of like on quote unquote merit, but like if I'm guessing, I mean, we did this like, what was it? 8 weeks ago, we were doing the tier show. And I was like, my hot take is that even though he hasn't done anything, I think Burden is going to have a higher ADP than Rome this time next year. Like, I think the difference between those 2, not just in the metrics, but just in how their bodies physically move, is like so immediately apparent that I just it's hard for me to imagine that Rome is better than Burden.
Yeah, well, it gets to the point where we're seeing like Luther Burden or Garrett Wilson, and I think you're insane.
I would take Luther Burden.
Yeah, I think you're insane.
Yeah,
I think
you're nuts.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think you're insane, categorically insane.
We'll see.
This is the wide receiver 6 before getting hurt with Justin Fields on the team. That's I think you're categorically.
Yeah, I love Garrett, but he is never going to be worth 3 1s. I think Luther Burden can be.
I'm not going to get, again, I'll take him in round 6 when I can get Garrett Wilson on my team too. I'm not trading Luther Burden for Garrett Wilson. I'm just not going to do that.
What is an appropriate plus to move off of Garrett Wilson to get to Luther Burden right now? Or do you think there's even managers out there who are going to be doing that trade? Because, like, yeah, I would love to be able to move off of like Garrett Wilson for Luther Burden +1. That's not happening anymore.
Wow.
It does feel like a little strange to be moving off of Garrett Wilson for Luther Burden at 2, unless you are like that. Like
I would do that trade.
Team.
I don't even know if that trade is possible because I think that the people who have Burden are he's going to be a very tough player to buy at his quote unquote ADP.
Yeah, like Burden is already catching on into like deep state dynasty Twitter madness, and I generally fade those like rapid accelerated hype players. I'm happy when I get them for like in the second round rookie picks, get them in season. You can kind of see when like the rocket ship is about to take off for these guys because every single dynasty.
I was saying it like 10 weeks ago.
Multiple places
before the hype. I was telling everyone.
You heard it here first.
I was
folks.
saying trade a late first. Remember, you guys also said I was crazy when I was like trade a late first. You can't get him for a late first today. Like that would have been a fantastic.
I don't think I said
move.
you were crazy. I think Tom said you were crazy.
Yeah, you didn't.
That
have
would have
to
been a winning move.
Time. You could have find the one that's way cheaper. It's the same thing that we're doing.
You could have more exposure by being aggressive. Have opinions.
Right. You play that way, and that's fine. I prefer to play the safer route in the game. I think there's more longevity in that. That's why I didn't trade big assets for Jaden Reed at the height of his friggin' peak. I'm never going to do that, and I'll never tell somebody to actively do that. Get it well as cheap as you can. That's the method to me. That's why I'll always play that way. Like if I can draft him in round 6 right now, great. I'll do a ton of drafts if that's my target, and I'll draft him 80% of the time in the 6th round rather than drafting him 100% of the time in the 4th round. I just don't think you have to do that if you want if your goal is to just get exposure, because I don't think you should have 80% exposure to any player. Like I like to keep mine at like 33%. To me is like where I like to settle, because if something goes wrong, you don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff. But I think that there's just as quickly a path for like him to be a Jaden Reed scenario than there is for him to be an Amon-Ra St. Brown scenario. So like, I don't force it. If I can get him cheaper right now, I will. When you said trade a late one, you just didn't have to do that in the majority, and you could have gotten a lot of your exposure at the lesser price. That's it. I'm not saying that it's like, oh no, I don't want him. It's just the price differentials. You can play the price game and still attain 30% more exposure to the average. Unless you're like, you play in like 3 leagues, in which case you got to like be hyper aggressive. But I always assume
if you play in 3 leagues, the price is what the guy with the player says the price is.
Yeah, exactly. So like at that point, you're just kind of like stuck. But I just assume everyone listening is like 30 leagues deep. So that's where we differ, and I'm fine with that. But like I make mistakes by not buying in, and I end up paying the larger price later, and that just is what it is. But I also avoid more of the Brian Thomas Jr. There were multiple teams that would have started like Brian Thomas Jr. at 2-1, traded up to take Ladd at like 2-8, and then ended up with Rome in the 3rd. And you're just like, well, that's an orphan team now. Like I choose to play a little bit of the safer, and that's why. So just to explain the reasoning, like that's the in-depth. That is my opinion. Like that is the opinion on the player. I like him in the 6th round a hell of a lot more than having to take him over an established, like really good player in like a Garrett Wilson.
I think maybe the 2027 forecast next summer will renew the Luther Burden debate when I have him ranked at like 103.
I already know you're going to, and it's like totally fine. I just won't. This is it. Yeah, it's yeah. That's it.
I think maybe if I could just if I could like elucidate the difference in philosophy the two of you have, I think Jacob is much more views players and missing out on players or getting in on players in like an individual sense. Like he wants to be correct and be right and be heavy on the players he believes are going to move in value. Tom will look and say, yeah, sure, there's Luther Burden who could be really good, could be worth 3 firsts, but there is a player currently that's worth 3 firsts that I know I'm going to get 3 firsts worth of production out of. The alternative to Tom is I'm going to make moves for that other player in what he would view as like a more sustainable or more, just a more stable, less risky way. And I think I think there's like something to be said for both approaches. I think you can win with either, but
I think the biggest difference, and Tom, like, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm like misstating your view, obviously, but I think like what Tom advocates for often is like a kind of an arbitrage strategy in that you are less interested in getting the best players and more interested in getting the best prices on all players, in the sense of like, if you trade for and trade away every player at advantageous prices, you get a cheaper buy than the average one guy, a more expensive sell on the average guy, you come out ahead in the wash. I think that's indisputably right. Yep. I would say that my approach and my reasoning for this approach is this: I just find it difficult to do that in practice because it frankly is time consuming. Markets are illiquid. People with players often don't want to sell them for the market price because they 100%. Drafted them for a reason, all these etc. reasons. And so I'm more into making bets. I'm less interested in, can I get a good price on this player relative to his current ADP? And I'm more taking the view of, what do I think this player is going to be worth in a year? And can I pay substantially less than that now, even if it's more than his current cost? And I'm not saying I'm right on all these bets. Tom brought up Jaden Reed. I'm very wrong on that. I'm confident that if you aggregate all of the bets, I come out ahead in the wash. Does that mean every team gets better? No, obviously there's going to be teams where you combine multiple bad bets. But I think like over the years, I consistently have a winning portfolio because I think I'm taking a lot of bets and usually hitting on enough of them in the percentage that it comes out ahead.
But the difference is too that you're also really good at pivoting off of the mistake, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not as quick to that draw, and I know that I'm not as quick to that draw. So if that's the case, like there's a lot of the times like we have philosophical differences on what 10 points looks like in week 12. I want that 10. I want 10 to 12 points. I kill for 12 points in week 13 in my flex. Right. Whereas for you, you're trading away Zay Flowers for a random 27-1 because you just he'll never see your lineup. Whereas to me, I'm like, I'm dying for Zay Flowers in week 13. So like where the
my guy, that example, I fucking love that guy.
I
score a touchdown once. Score a touchdown one time, please. In fantasy season.
I say that because he was a topic from last year.
Right.
That we all talked about. But what I'm saying is I see a lot of chat. Oh, I bet it'd be nice to get CeeDee Lamb for. That's not true. I'll pay the elite price. I think it would be irresponsible to tell everybody to go send all of their firsts because I don't like in big fantasy, and I say this a lot, where they're like, trade your first for this guy. Great, you told me to sell my first for the last guy last week. Now I don't have that first. What do I do?
Right.
I don't think that's realistic. I think that if you're gonna fire the golden gun, you get one shot with that pick. We talk about that a lot. I want it to actually be for that player at that point. I'm more willing to buy I'm willing to buy Amon-Ra St. Brown when his price was 2 firsts because the Jameson Williams blow up was coming up, than rather pay 1 first for maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown in Luther Burden. When I know because on a contending team, I bought Amon-Ra St. Brown for 2 firsts in week 13 this year. Whereas around that time, you're sending 1 first for Luther Burden, who might one day become Amon-Ra St. Brown. I just think that that's the philosophical difference that we are constantly having back and forth. And that's why I play the price so much, because the market is tangible, where I don't have the store data files on each player, profiles, and prospects. That's not what I'm good at. That's why I lean into it. Which, again, for anyone watching, you might be new here. That's why this show is what it is. There's 4 people that play the game 4 different ways, and that's how we get here. So to clarify some of the chat's comments, little snarky, I won't lie, but like to clarify, that's what I mean. It's not like, oh, just always get the cheaper player. That's why I make that joke and Ryan rolls his eyes at me and we have this continuous conversation. It is possible, but again, I'm looking at portfolio overall through 40 some leagues to acquire 30%. That's a viable strategy. It may not be for you.
So I think
that was a really good discussion.
I think the difference, though, at least with Luther Burden in this discussion, is I don't even know how many times during now multiple off seasons, Jacob has always had a discussion of, especially at wide receiver, you're not buying for that potential upside or like the player who hasn't broken out yet. You're keeping those picks liquid because it doesn't make sense to be investing them in somebody who's not scoring points for your team, specifically at wide receiver. Wherever you can use those picks instead and go and get like somebody who's actually scoring points. Like, I don't know how many times you've had that. Jacob says it way more eloquently. You can go back in time and find at least 3 of those discussions. But I'm a little bit like perplexed with like how enamored you are with Luther Burden, and to me that just says that there's like something different here.
I think he moves different.
I mean,
I literally think he moves different. Like that's like I could be a nerd about it and like cite the yards per route run and shit. And like I'm sure I'll have articles on that, but like more than anything, I just fundamentally am amazed by how athletic he looks on the football field at all times, and I think that putting someone who to me has that much raw talent with one of the best offensive play callers in the league, it like has to go there. I feel bad. I think that the philosophical discussion was actually very good because I think we often argue about this without actually getting into it. So I think it was good to have. The chat is asking for Loveland content. And since Tom and I just had that big discussion, it would be great if Ryan and Lucas could give them some Loveland content.
Well, Keith just said my part. That boy nice. So done.
Yeah.
He's what I was hoping Sam Laporta would be. There, I said it. There you go.
Yeah, my Loveland content is, yes, he's the dynasty tight end 3. I think you can say he's a better player than Trey McBride at this point. I think the only thing separating him from Trey McBride is
I'm just not used to you giving hot takes.
When I watch him on a football field,
and I love it.
I'm like that's what my heart says when I watch him on a football field. I'm not a film guy. Don't fucking listen to my film takes that are given at 11:23 Eastern time.
Over Bowers in 2026.
I'm not saying you should not draft him over Trey McBride or Brock Bowers or whatever. If we could run the experiment where Colston Loveland was on the field with Jacoby Brissett in an every down role this year, I wonder if he would have outscored McBride, which was one of the best fantasy tight end seasons that we've seen in recent memory.
I'm getting noise in my.
I just love that you're giving a hot take because usually you're the cool, sober voice of second thought on this program. Loveland, you could, I'm sure, roll the tape. I said back in the pre-draft, I was like, this is my favorite player in the 2025 NFL draft. It was tough for a while, experiencing him getting bodied by Tyler Warren and Aronde Gadsden for half the season as like a major Loveland conviction person. It was difficult. We got there eventually. I think he's clearly dynasty tight end 3. I think that the more important question facing people with respect to Loveland this offseason is he closer to McBride and Bowers at the top as the third of the top tier, or is he the first of the next tier? And I think really the actionable advice then is, are you looking to sell McBride or Bowers for Loveland plus / sell any of the other tight ends plus for Loveland? Or are you looking to sell Loveland plus to get up to McBride and Bowers, or sell Loveland for one of the others plus? I'm unsurprisingly, I guess, in the I'm probably going to buy Loveland camp. Maybe his ADP gets so out of control that I flip my mind on that, but like it would take a lot. I think he belongs in the discussion with McBride and Bowers. I wouldn't put him over them, but I think he's closer to those two than the rest. He can legitimately be lined up. Like their 2-point play in that game, which was an extremely crucial play, they lined up in max heavy formation. And I was like, what the fuck is this all about? Are they going to run? Like, are they going to do Wildcat? What is this thing? All they did was to make sure that they could get a linebacker assigned to Loveland because there was nothing interesting about the play. They just lined up in heavy, split Loveland out. We're like, haha, we caught you with a linebacker on him. You can't cover him. And then they just threw it to him because they were like, he's going to beat your linebacker because he's better than your linebacker. Like, and that was what was so impressive to me about him at Michigan was they didn't have any wide receivers. They didn't have a quarterback. They didn't have a passing offense. Their coach was sexting women instead of designing pass plays. So like he would legit split out wide and just beat corners on slant routes. Like that was why I was like, this guy is a higher level than Tyler Warren, in my opinion. So yeah, I think he's like unreal. I think and the best part is the only thing I was concerned about with him is like Cole Kmet is a classic, better NFL player than fantasy player. And we hadn't seen until this playoff game, Rome and Moore and Burden all in the field and Kmet available. Would he get the routes? And he did. They made him the focal point of the offense in the most important game of their season with everybody else healthy and active and running routes. They ran the whole thing through Loveland. Like, yeah, I'm extremely into him.
So can I ask then, if you say his ADP gets out of control, what's out of control? Because right now it's tight end 4, pick 43 between Egbuka and Olave.
Yeah.
Where is it in the second round? Well, let me just ask. Hold on. Let me just ask you this first. Actually, let me rephrase this: 101 this year or Loveland in a tight end premium?
Oh no, you know what? No, I would take Jeremiah Love. I would take Jeremiah Love. I think.
Okay, so then the next pick that comes off the board,
definitely take him over 102.
So that's the start of round 4. So you'd have to take him over. So then what's the breaking point here? Tyler Warren, Trevor Lawrence,
way over Tyler Warren. Get out of here. Or way over these guys.
So we're talking like
I would be. I mean, I think he would be my 102 if we were redrafting the 2025 class. I'll put it that way. So I would take him ahead of McMillan. I would take him ahead of Dart.
So that puts you. I mean, Trevion goes ahead of Dartridge now, which I don't think is
I'd take him ahead of Henderson.
Let me quickly read. There's Ashton Genty going at RB3, pick 17. The next one is Tet McMillan, wide receiver 9 at pick 26. So you'd be taking him at the 301.
2-3 turn. I feel pretty comfortable with him because I don't know. I expect
Hampton. Hampton is next. It goes.
Yeah, I'm taking him over Hampton.
So then
I would suspect McBride and Bowers go closer to the 1-2 turn this offseason. I don't know. Yeah. That's kind of just off of vibes.
Round. Trey McBride going at pick 9, Bowers going at pick 11. You'd have to take him if you want him there before Hampton. You would have to take him at pick 22, right where Jalen Hurts is.
Well, I would rather have. Would I rather have Jalen Hurts? I think I'd rather have Jalen Hurts.
Okay. So breaking point.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'll do rankings in a couple days. I expect he'll be somewhere between 20 and 25.
Yeah, my issue is again short sample size, but tight end is tougher for me. Again, I'm with you on that. I think it's going to get to a point where it's too pricey for me, but I was happy to have him at pick 111. I was happy to get him at pick 110. I think I'm weary on the tier down thing, which normally I'm all in. Like McBride is just an elite asset, period. And so is Bowers. So it's like, it's really hard to move off of that. But if you're a betting man like Jacob is, this is your time to shine.
Sorry, I'm now tilted. Look, Big Diaz, I don't know you. So like, I don't have any expectations that you like follow every word that I write or say, but where was this conviction all year with respect to Colston Loveland? If any time that Colston Loveland was brought up to me between the months of March and December, the conviction was present. Like, you believe that, Okay, like believe that.
He was my rookie 106. Like we were very big Colston Loveland people all year.
I think it was the lowest. I think I was the lowest on that. And a lot of that was the blocking. But boy, like our chat said, did he ever block the shit out of the pack?
Okay. Going back to him as a prospect, he wasn't even a bad blocker. I mean, we had a tight end class that had some like really good blockers in it. Like this guy was an elite route runner. He was involved in every part of the offense at Michigan, wherever they had JJ McCarthy. Then they had zero quarterback play. They had zero running back play. Their offensive line was apparently bad, and he was banged up all his junior season, still came out and was still the first tight end off the board because he was just freaking awesome. And whenever we did tiers at the mid-year, we got a lot of questions about like, is it time to give up on Colston Loveland yet, because he wasn't beating out all of these mid-Bears wide receivers for targets. He couldn't beat out Cole Kmet. It's like, no, this guy is still an amazing prospect whenever he was coming out. Like, it's just tough to see, because at that point in time we had seen a very banged up Colston Loveland and probably still recovering as he was coming into this year. Plus, tight end's probably, aside from quarterback, the toughest position to learn in the NFL. It was going to be a steep learning curve. This is somebody who's just amazing. And how good has this rookie tight end class been? Like, this will go down as probably an all-time tight end class we're looking at right now. We have 4 tight ends in the top 12 from this rookie class, actually 4 within the top 10 to go along with tight end 3, 4, and 5 right now in startups. Like, that's fantastic. Yeah. And tight end's not going to suck forever, maybe.
I texted Ryan the other day. It's like, it's pretty insane that we got like the top 6 tight ends in the last like 3 years. Kind of nutty, but
and not tight end deep this year. Is tight end really deep this year?
No, you're ruined. I'll never say it, because every time you say it, right, everything blows up miserably. And now you've ruined it. You've just cursed everyone. Sell all your young good tight ends. They're all about to, I don't know.
And here's the awesome thing, because like I could say that we were in on all these guys, but we were in on basically every single tight end coming out last year. And if you have done nothing but draft tight ends in your rookie drafts, it was basically impossible for you to screw up. Like, even if like you drafted Terrence Ferguson, you're sitting there like, oh man, Ferguson did nothing for me this year. He looks really good.
Different. I like Terrence Ferguson.
Yeah, Terrence Ferguson's fun. Like, I think that you have legitimate value there, and if you're not sold on him, you can move off of him for plus value of what you were drafting him at. There's Mason Taylor truthers out there. You can probably move on him for plus what you were drafting him at. If we're being fair, the only one, or I think the toughest one, is going to be Elijah Arroyo, but his situation could change immediately, because he's just like, the crazy thing is he's the best
barnyard
athlete.
Dog is locking in.
He is the best athlete out of any of the tight ends that were drafted last year, which is just absurd. But like, he's basically free now, and you were paying what, maybe a mid-third to draft him, if that. Like it. And yeah, we haven't talked about Harold Fannin, because we all love Harold Fannin. He's amazing. But yeah, this past tight end class, absurd, amazing. We're going to be talking about them for years.
And it's also a lesson.
We got 3 names left. I promise.
Yeah,
I will
we have
take
3 players
more than 30
left.
seconds on each of the 3 names. Actually, I'll take 30 seconds combined.
First, I just, Tom, please put Papa Dunk's comment on screen, because it just says it all. Oh. It caps off the discussion perfectly. Not his most recent one. The Bears offense is basically the one before that.
The other one.
That one.
Although to that comment, I did schedule a delivery of some Indian food, because I got home right after work. I thought I would be done by now, but it's just sitting here, so this will be
wonderful.
This will be dove into at some point.
Yeah. So the Bears offense, basically Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Garrett Wilson, and Trey McBride. Noted. True.
Dude, that's elite.
Yeah, and that tells you everything you need to know about my Caleb Williams opinion, which is no matter what you think of him, he's going to score fantasy points.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Caleb Williams yet.
And we're not going to.
Caleb Williams is now Brock Purdy, but he was drafted first overall.
Yes. Precisely.
I said that he would end up being a second-round pick when I traded Matthew Golden and Kyler Murray for him, and I said he had the highest chance to be a second-round pick. That
Give me
hit.
a first round pick.
He's gonna get close. I still can't
He went
decide.
107 in that draft, by the way.
I still can't decide if he's like good or not, but he does some things that I've never seen a quarterback do.
I've decided I don't care.
Let me say
where
this.
I'm at.
Let me say this.
Like you can quibble, but like he's fantasy friendly and he's good enough.
Yes.
And Johnson is incredible and the weapons are incredible. So like it doesn't matter.
He is so good that he makes the impossible plays look easy and the easy plays look impossible. And it's frustrating, but I'm not a Bears fan, so I don't have to deal.
Yeah, like the comp to Purdy to me is like not a stylistic one. It's just like you can like reasonable minds can disagree on how good Purdy is and how much it's Shanahan or how much it's whatever, but like he's obviously good enough and like the situation is not going to change. And it's like that's how I feel about Caleb. It's like is he actually elite? Is he going to be elite? Like, you know, we could get Brett on here and we could get some other person on here and we could all like have a big disagreement, but like he's obviously good enough. Johnson's going nowhere. He's got Loveland. He's got Burden. He's got Rome. He's got Darnell Wright. Shout out Darnell Wright. Go Vols. And like, and he runs and he throws lasers and like, it's going to be good.
Yeah. You're telling me I can get a Puka, Caleb, Loveland, like Purdy start in Dynasty right now? I would fall over that. Like that's disgusting and possible. Anyway, let's keep moving. Matthew Golden.
Sell him right now. Go sell him.
If you can.
He is, I said on the market report, we were talking about him as like a sell. And I said, watch him just go out there and have like the best game of his career to watch him prop his ADP up. And he did. And it was just such the classic Dynasty thing. And I asked our charting team if there was anything, and it was like, well, Jaden Reed wasn't fully healthy, and they had like a pretty injured corner they attacked. So nothing to really read into here. And I was like, great, sell.
He did have one really sick rep against Jalen Johnson, but most of them, I think at least 2 or maybe even 3 of his catches were against Kyler Gordon, who like visibly couldn't move. He was like limping around, and every Packers receiver was dusting him. Like Dobbs was roasting him, Reed was roasting him, Watson was roasting him. Like it was kind of like whoever happened to be lined up against Kyler Gordon was just destroying him because he couldn't like move. Yeah, I mean,
Papa,
it's the best he's ever looked. I'll give him credit for that. Like
you're trolling.
He piqued my interest a little bit. I'm probably selling.
He's trolling.
Very tilting game to watch to need fantasy points from Christian Watson for. I will say.
So let's talk Joe
Love has no change. I don't know. He's good.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, he's just
That's what he is.
He's like every other pocket passer, right? You need high touchdown efficiency and high volume. Josh Jacobs has been banged up. That's probably what led him to throw the ball as much as they did. They're probably going to still run the stupid ball as much as they are. So I'll be back on Josh Jacobs next year.
Yeah, Love feels like he's going to be going in round 3 of startups for like a while, and then eventually people are going to be like, "Oh, he's 30," and then he's going to go in round 5 of startups, and like it's fine.
He's like getting Jared Goff trajectory without Jared Goff production, which is like I'll pass. Ricky Pearsall was the last one that we were going to talk about here. Just that,
all you, Ryan. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know if Ricky Pearsall's a real player. I don't know if he's a real player. He might be like the great idea of a player, but he has no legs ever.
Okay, yeah, I don't know where he fits in on this chart at all. So this is maybe just totally. Nothing's changed other than that. George Kittle, Achilles injury, very likely not going to be himself for most of next year. Juwan Jennings, unrestricted free agent. There have been we'll call them whispers. They've been louder than that. That he's not all that happy in San Francisco at different points this year. Real chance that Ricky Pearsall. What did you say?
I said the Colts need a quarterback. Juwan Jennings.
Oh yes, yeah, quarterback Juwan Jennings. Real chance that Ricky Pearsall is the de facto quote unquote wide receiver 1 of the 49ers at some point this offseason. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1 in the National Football League. I don't know if he can stay healthy. I don't know any of that. I do know he's been pretty strong from a per route perspective this year, especially if you give him some grace on the 2 or 3 games in the middle of the season that he was clearly playing very injured. This is a player that people were freaking out about during the offseason. I never cared. I was never a Pearsall guy this past offseason. But if you think he's any good at all, you should be buying right now. Like he's nothing right now. He is like a throw-in in some of these trades. So that just someone I want to bring people's attention to. Maybe I'll explore some Pearsall buys. I don't know, but it's a little shocking to me that no one's talking about him for a player that was so hyped and so discussed and so slappy for the entire 2025
I
offseason.
regretfully agree for the reason that I'm pretty sure that whoever Kyle Shanahan wants to run the passing game through is a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Like remember when Kendrick Bourne was a wide receiver 1 for like 2 weeks?
He's going, but hold on, Ryan. He's going before pick 110 in startups right now. He's going.
Yeah, that's cheap actually. I think.
I don't know if that's
Look,
cheap.
Here's why Ryan is I think right. I'm not like a huge Pearsall guy, but like we are not going to be entering. I don't know when, but like when people start doing projections, I don't know what the 49ers depth chart will look like. Maybe they draft a wide receiver round 1 and this all goes down the tubes. But come August, when the projection industrial complex has taken hold, we will not be in a scenario where there are no San Francisco 49ers pass catchers except for Christian McCaffrey going in the top 100. Like, as long as Brock Purdy is still the quarterback and Kyle Shanahan is still the offensive play caller, they are going to have at least one and probably multiple fantasy viable pass catchers. And I truly think that Shanahan can basically just make a wide receiver 1 if he chooses to anoint you as such. So I think like if they actually don't add anyone major in the draft or in free agency, then like why would it not be Pearsall? Now, do you believe in him? Would you want to sell if he climbs up a bunch in the summer? Maybe, but for right now, like I think it's probably a pretty worthwhile buy because someone is going to be slotted in as the wide receiver 1 of one of the most attractive offenses in the NFL, and Pearsall's probably the favorite right now.
I did have somebody try to convince me that Pearsall in the third was worth Chase Brown in the fantasy playoffs. And that was probably the most infuriating part of trying to trade from a crappy team. But that's aside from the point. Like, he is so much fun on paper. He's a guy who just has like a swagger that makes you want to bet on him consistently.
Yeah, can a white boy get a little motion?
But like, I don't know. Like somebody else has to be brought into this passing attack, right?
Do you think that Marty Supreme will increase Ricky Pearsall's value because people start believing in white guys with undeserved confidence? Clearly, tell Ryan has not seen that film.
The damage Timothée Chalamet is done to like. Yeah, we're gonna start.
I would draft Timothée Chalamet in the first.
Can we just say this now that this portion of the program is over? Like, that dude can't be. He's a plant, right? That dude knows cards. He knows pro wrestling in depth. Yeah, he's a music savant. He's a hip hop head, a sneaker head. He knows baseball, football. I don't
know why you're talking about the love of my life this way.
He can't be a real person to know.
I would like to find out.
He is like, he has to be a plant for like every bro wants to be his best friend and maybe secret lover. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the thing about how all guys, they always say they're like, guys want to be him and women want to be with him. To be clear, I both want to be Timothée Chalamet and I want to be with Timothée Chalamet. That's
what I mean. He's like the perfect dude. Like, he has to be a plant. That's created. Like, it's like when Neo downloads.
This is your natural skepticism. This is our difference in our approach to Dynasty. I like to believe in things.
No, this is like
I'm willing to buy high on Timothée Chalamet.
This is like when Neo is in the chair and Morpheus comes over to him and he's like, I just learned Kung Fu. He's like downloading all of martial arts. They have sat Chalamet down and we're like, here's everything pop culture and sports related. You're saving Hollywood.
This
Get out there.
This reminds me of one time I was watching The Matrix with my good friend Eli, who's definitely not watching this 2 hours into the show, but shout out Eli. And Eli's girlfriend came home like halfway through The Matrix. And they were like doing this stuff. And Aaron was like, are they actually good at fighting or did they just download good at fighting? And we were like, they literally downloaded good at fighting. Like that is unfortunately the plot of The Matrix.
This is. Oh yeah, and Papa Dunk says rumor has it Timothée Chalamet has 30 plus dynasty leagues.
Yeah, I bet he wins them all.
98% success rate, and the 2% was because he felt like it.
Yeah, I bet he's first in ass. Kevin O'Leary can confirm because he refused the butt double for that scene because that's how much he believes in himself.
Oh my God! All right, are we doing 5 for 5?
Yeah, we'll do a fast one.
Okay.
We gotta do it. We gotta do it. We gotta say goodbye for a very short period of time.
I need your heated rivalry takes at some point in time, even if we have to take it off air.
But I gave it to you pre-show.
We'll do it off air.
The gay sex is cool. It's not for me. Unless Timothée Chalamet was involved, then it would be for me. Particularly if I could be the one having it with Timothée Chalamet. The dialogue is somewhere between a Hallmark film and just straight up pornography. These people aren't real. I don't really understand it. I would say if I had to choose, the Russian one's hotter than the other one. Personally.
All right. Well, next time book talk. Join us next week for book talk as we break down 50 Shades of Grey.
We got some Colleen Hoover novels.
I am the Cobra. Loveland 1, Loveland 2, Burton 3, Chalamet. That's actually not a bad lineup.
Chalamet.
Let's do 5 for 5. Explain to the people what 5 for 5 is. We have some new viewers that might still be here. I don't know.
All right.
The same 6 here now.
If you're one of the true sickos who's with us at hour 201, you get our last 5 for 5 for a little while. Also, our first 5 for 5 in a little while. So I have 5 players in mind. Each player has up to 5 clues.
There was one person who is champion in back-to-back years.
Tom's
that's
champion.
here right now. Thank
Tom's
you.
Back. 5 players, 5 clues each. You get 5 points if you get on the first clue, all the way down to 1 point if you get on the last clue. Actual people win ties. Chat, if you want to play along, you get up to 3 guesses total, cumulatively, per clue. You only get the point if you get it on one of those 3 guesses, and none of the individual people get it. Before we start, believe it or not, I have a bonus. I will give everyone up to 1 bonus point per correct answer. There's a total of 3 points available. Okay. The reason for that is the theme this week, of course, is notable playoff performances. As you'll find out, some of these are notable for being very good. Others are notable for being very bad, but they're all notable. Before we do that, in my personal favorite football game of all time, which I don't think I've ever said, but should be extremely obvious if you know me at all and who I root for, there were 3 different non-skill players who scored touchdowns. For 1 point each, name any of those 3 football players.
Devin Hester.
No, that would be my second favorite football game of all time. I didn't consider that the real Super Bowl.
I'm getting zero with these, so good luck, Lucas.
Ryan was too young for this. All right, I'll just give it away then. I thought Tom might get these. We were looking for any of Logan Mankins, Dan Klecko, and Jeff Saturday, who all scored touchdowns in the 2006 AFC Championship game somehow.
It was the game beforehand. Yep, my bad.
Once we beat the Patriots, we were beating the fucking Bears. I was not worried about the Bears.
Not if, I'm sorry, Kyle Orton starts that game, the Bears have a shot.
Well, he didn't. All right, here we go. Number 1. All right. This wide receiver played his final season on the Tennessee Titans, which unfortunately describes most great wide receivers.
Andre Johnson.
That is incorrect.
Randy Moss.
That is also incorrect.
Did Julio Jones go there for his swan song?
Not quite a swan song. He actually finished, I think, on the Eagles, but also incorrect anyways. All right, I'll give it a second for the chat. We've got Julio. We've got another Julio. All right, I'm giving the chat like 3 more seconds to account for the lag. That's it. You guys are cut off. All right. This player holds the all-time NFL record for most receiving yards in an NFL playoff game.
No shot he did that on the Titans.
Yeah, there's no shot.
That's did not say that he did.
That was practically implicit in the question that he didn't.
Yeah. Once you're on the Titans, you're no longer good. Is usually the way it goes for good wide receivers. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. Pass.
I'm not seeing anything. Okay.
Hold on. Did you say in Super Bowl history?
No, playoff game history. Playoff history. Not necessarily.
That's oh my God, there's
He
three.
had 240 yards.
There's two players I can think of, and I think one of them's too obvious because he's a Colt. How many? We still get the same amount of.
Is it Reggie Wayne? Did he finish?
Incorrect.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. It's Eric Moulds.
That is correct.
Yeah, there's two
Dang.
players I was thinking. It was either going to be Reggie Wayne or Eric Moulds.
Well, I wasn't going
All
to
right,
get
it's Eric Moulds.
So.
It's Eric Moulds, who somehow finished his career with 9,995 receiving yards. Could he have not assigned like a 1-week contract the next year, just get 5 more? Like, I'd be so pissed. Like, throw me one more slant, man. Anyway, Eric Moulds is correct.
So happy Lucas just gave me that.
For 4 points to Tom Tipple, off to a commanding lead already. All right. This player has 1 career playoff touchdown pass and 1 career regular season touchdown pass.
Repeat that.
This player has 1 career NFL regular season touchdown pass and 1 career NFL playoff touchdown pass.
Jacoby Myers.
Incorrect.
Juwan Jennings.
Incorrect.
Oh gosh. Okay.
All right. This player, This player has 1 career NFL playoff start, but prior to that, he had 1 playoff start in the college football playoff, and both went equally abhorrently.
Oh, so it's a quarterback. Oh.
Luke, this is your chance, bro.
I know.
Oh.
I'm thinking through it. I'm thinking through it because, like, I should definitely know this.
1 career
and-
NFL playoff start, 1 college football playoff start, and they were both really, really bad.
Oh God. This one's like just beyond the reach of my brain. I feel like I should know this one and that it was when I was watching football.
All right.
I could be wrong, but
2,
No.
1. We got nothing. All right. This player started the season of his eventual playoff start as the 3rd string quarterback, but eventually became the starter after an injury to Matt McGloin.
Matt McGloin didn't help me, but
Should give you the team, unless you guys don't know the team.
I don't. Who the hell is Matt McGloin? I'm thinking I don't know, Nathan Peterman. I don't think he started a playoff game.
Correct.
No.
All right.
That
3,
would have been the other
2,
backup quarterback, Matt.
1. All right. Clue number 4 for 2 points. The Zoomers used this player's last name as a synonym for doing something awesome, but surely he did not by going 18 for 45 with 161 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions in a loss to the Houston Texans.
Connor Cook.
That's correct. Connor Cook, who did not cook
He cooked.
in either his loss to the Texans or his 38-0 shutout for the Michigan State Spartans against Alabama in the Cotton Bowl.
That was all I needed. I
Oh
like,
my
yeah.
gosh.
I
Holy
knew,
cow,
I
he
knew it
was
was
the
a third
quarterback
stringer
then.
that just got thrown in. Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
didn't remember Matt McGloin at all, but yep, I knew it was
Wow.
pretty recent.
Carr got hurt, McGloin got hurt, and then we all had to unfortunately watch Connor Cook for 3 hours. And he lost, by the way, to Brock Osweiler, the worst quarterback game in NFL playoff history. I will shout out both Tony Gabagool and Herms got it on the same clue as Ryan. So Ryan gets the points, but good for you guys. 4 for Tom, 2 for Ryan. All right. Okay. This player's last name is also a company which was heavily featured in the television show Mad Men.
That's a show I didn't watch.
Never seen it.
Is it a real
All right.
company or is it
Yeah,
a
it's a real
fictional
company.
company?
Yeah, all of the companies in Mad Men are real brands.
Is that Cadillac Williams?
It's not Cadillac Williams. But that I like the way you're thinking. Like, yes, all the Mad Men stuff is like actually real brands. Or most of them anyway. This one is. All right. This player was one of 3 pass catchers that his team drafted in the same draft in 2012.
Yeah, no clue.
All right, we still got nothing.
What was the first hint? Was that his last name or his first name?
His last name is also the name of a reasonably well-known company. And then his second clue is one of 3 pass catchers taken by this team in the 2012 draft. All right. This player was a 3rd-round selection out of Florida International University.
Oh my God. It's T.Y. Hilton. I knew a Colts reference.
Oh my gosh.
That would be Eugene Marquise T.Y. Hilton of Hilton Hotel.
So Hilton is the company?
Yes, Hilton
Yeah.
Hotels is the company.
Got it.
You sneaky bugger. The game is
All right.
never to play the game. It's to play Jacob. I keep saying
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I'm always going to have a Colt in there for sure. Especially T.Y. obviously had a ridiculous game with the 38-10 comeback over the Kansas City Chiefs.
That has to be one of the highest receiving totals of all time.
Yeah,
right?
it was up there. It was like, I think he had over 200 yards. Yeah, he went crazy that game. All right. So Tom's at 7. Ryan is at 2. Okay. This
Wait,
player
I thought I had
was born-
3. Whatever.
No,
You
you're
had
at 2.
That
You
was
need
a
a 4th
Oh,
clue.
okay. Gotcha.
All right. Actually, no, we're gonna do that one last. All right. This player had just 43 carries through 3 collegiate seasons.
That could only be like 30,000 different college running
Well,
backs.
but you narrow it down. You know, one of them had a really notable playoff performance.
In all
right.
of college? Okay.
No, their first 3 college seasons.
Oh.
All right. We're moving on to question 2. This player set a school record for yards per kick return in college.
Is it Percy Harvin?
It's not Percy Harvin. Good guess. This player
No clue.
played snaps for 7 different NFL franchises.
A kick returner with only 43 carries in his first few. That means he had multiple afterwards.
All right. Okay, just do a quick
Oh,
recap.
kid.
43 carries through 3 college seasons, 7 NFL teams, school record for yards per kick return. Anyone? And then otherwise we'll go to clue 4. All right, we're going to clue 4. We're heavily escalating the degree of helpfulness of the clues, so get your buzzer ready on this one. This player, who is not yet retired from the NFL, is most notable for his 220-yard performance in the 2020 NFC Championship game.
All the years melt together, man. This is embarrassing.
I just
We
can't
should
think of his
have this.
name.
Yet retired.
Oh my gosh.
Not yet retired.
Oh, this is going to kill me.
Raheem the Dream Mostert.
It is indeed Raheem the Dream Mostert. That is correct.
I didn't know he
For
only
2
had
points.
43. I didn't know he only had 43 carries through his first bit in college.
He got a joint scholarship for football and track and field.
That's right. He
And
was
so he like barely played, and he played like 3 years in the NFL purely as a special teamer before he ever became an NFL running back. He was like with the Browns, he was with the Ravens, he was with the Dolphins, and then eventually the 49ers like made him a real running back.
Ravens legend Raheem Mostert.
All right, Tom is at 9, Ryan is at 2, but it's anyone's game because we get double points.
So much. This is bullshit.
All right.
Have to survive an onslaught.
Okay. You know what? Keep talking and I'll make it triple points.
Fuck.
Please do a triple point.
He did keep
All right,
talking.
Lucas, you got to get it on the first clue.
Yep.
All right. This player was born in the Philippines.
Is it Tim Tebow?
That's correct. 10 points.
Yes, it is! You are Jada try! Yeah! Let's go! Let's go! Woo!
This game is bullshit.
Oh, yeah! Just because they mentioned it every single time whenever a Florida fan would hold up a sign that said Tebow for president, and then some like smart aleck Tennessee fan would put in the comment board saying, you know, he was born in the Philippines. He can't be a president, right? Let's go. And of course, you're going to include that with that iconic touchdown pass to Demaryius Thomas against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was like, until the Super Bowl, was my favorite Broncos moment of all time. Just freaking out in my living room watching that. Oh my gosh. We won't talk about the Patriots the next week, but that one moment in time during Tebow Mania. Pure bliss.
I will never forget him just like rearing back, looking like he was throwing a javelin, just like to like complete a 12-yard slant to Demaryius as he just runs. That was such a crazy game to watch.
That was
Tom is
an
throwing
amazing
things.
time. Oh,
Lucas
let's
is thrilled.
go.
That's the show. That's the show. When we come back to 5 for 5 later in the offseason, Tom will be hosting as the champion. But Lucas, you finished this season of 5 for 5 on a very high note.
You know, we can ignore the drought because I think I got 3 wins pretty quickly. Or no, I got 2.5. I think I shared a win. But then I didn't get a single other win whenever Tom went on his like 9 for 10 streak. I think oh my gosh, yeah. I think Ryan got a win in there at one point in time, but Tom dominated the rest. So I'll take this win. I'm going to wear it like a badge of honor. And let me, for my victory speech, say how much I hate the transfer portal right now and how much it's killing college football. My first love. It makes me so sad. Just, you know, but we'll see. Hopefully we get some type of structure in college football to where it's no longer just the worst thing in the world to watch teams just ruin everything that made college football special and have agents who aren't agents getting paid to sign massive deals that aren't actually thought out. And it's just what billionaire is going back to his college and giving them money because he wants to have fun at football games. So we'll see.
When I wrote this up, I literally thought to myself, I was like, I knew I was going to do Tebow last, and I was like, Lucas might randomly know this about Tim Tebow.
Of course I'm going to know it.
Yeah.
The game was
Anyways.
rigged from the start.
Was he born there, like on some sort of mission?
Yes, he was on. His parents were missionaries,
Yeah,
so he was
that's what I
born
thought.
on a mission
Yeah.
trip there.
Unbelievable. Okay, look, that's the show for tonight. Thank you for sticking with us 2 hours and 20 minutes. If you're here and have not hit the new YouTube channel button, please do that. It's free. We have some really great stuff, including some live exclusives on YouTube. They'll only be YouTube. They won't be podcast format. That's where you're going to get your games like this one, the best game in Dynasty Fantasy Football. 5 for 5 will no longer be podcast available. That's going to be YouTube exclusive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So please, 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 when we come back February 9th, or the week of February 9th is when you're going to see Dynasty Points again. We're still going to have Market Report podcasts, the mini pods, etc. This podcast takes a break every year just to recharge some batteries. So thank you for listening. If you listened to us for 2 hours, we love you. We wouldn't be here without you. And thanks for sticking around. And keep an eye out for the new content heading over to the new YouTube channel. It's going to have a Dynasty Points Dynasty Life crossover every week with myself, Ryan Heath, and Theo Greminger. We're bringing everything we can to the Dynasty channel. Andy Buckler will eventually be appearing on the YouTube channel as well for Market Report and things like that. So stay locked in with us. Thank you for watching. Shout out 2 hours. This is insane. Only we can do it, I guess. Remember that clear eyes and full hearts can never lose, and your best days are always spent tilting. Good night, everybody.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.